built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 1 minute past 10, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. It's been quite the saga. Now we can get back to the football.
I feel amazing. It's been a long journey, to get here. But I'm super happy to be a part of this team.
Alexander Isak's £125 million move takes Liverpool's summer spend to a record $415 million. Danny Murphy told us Isak will sit on the bench for a while.
When he gets fit, he's going to start. And then the question is, does Ekitike sometimes play as a 10 if Verts does the rest? Does he play on the left? Gakpo's not going to be able to play every game.
Meanwhile, Roy Hodgson's feeling really sorry for Mark Guehi. His Palace exit video was somehow leaked online, despite the move to Liverpool falling through over the lack of a replacement and pressure from Oliver Glasner. Hodgson told talkSPORT Palace should be the winners here.
To have a player of that calibre and a captain and leader of that calibre still with you should be seen as advantageous, but it remains to be seen, of course, how upset he may have been by what's happened.
Meanwhile, deals are still being completed. Some breaking news. Gianluigi Donnarumma has now signed for Man City from PSG. Meanwhile, Manuel Akanji's joined Inter on loan from Man City as Ederson thanks Pep Guardiola for a beautiful 8 years. He's joining Fenerbahce. Now, Brighton's Matt O'Reilly's left for Marseille. That's a season-long loan. O'Reilly will work under former Brighton head coach Roberto De Zerbi. And there's more on all these at talksport.com. And Dame Laura Davies is predicting a win for an experienced Team Europe in this month's Ryder Cup.
If we've got a decent lead going in the singles, they will come with a run because they always do in the singles. If Rory plays well, Tommy plays well, obviously John Rahm always plays well, we've got a great chance.
More on these stories on our website.
talkSPORT News.
Find out why hundreds of homes across the country are lying empty, and the Home Office has a message for foreign students with visas. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Get a free vehicle safety check at all of our 600 centres nationwide to keep you safe on the road. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Rain moving east across southern counties of England and Wales. Elsewhere, a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers. Lighter winds, temperatures around average.
Good morning, everybody. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT. So the transfer window closes with a record £3 billion spend. Was Glasner right to offer the Crystal Palace board a Guehi ultimatum? And despite Isak heading out, can Newcastle still claim success, or did their window lack big club execution? Meantime, as supporters urge FIFA to block domestic games heading abroad, will they be listened to? Also today, can repetition be Europe's formula for success at the Ryder Cup? Is it easy to dismiss a headline once you have created it? Did Nuno get his timing wrong? And in 2025, should football fans be free to wear whatever they like in a stadium? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
As someone once said, this is like deja vu all over again. Here we go, Simon. It just overnighted, just left this studio and now back in it. Good morning, man.
Indeed. Very sad news about Joe Bugner. I met him years ago.
Yeah, the boxer. Yeah. Sad news. Yeah. What age was he, Simon?
75.
Yeah.
75. I met him years ago. He was a very good friend of my friend, the actor Nick Moran, and very illuminating company. never quite taken to the hearts of the British fans, but a very, very good fighter. All not, nonetheless, very sad loss.
And of course, had his fight when Muhammad Ali was Muhammad Ali, or when he was Cassius Clay, or no, it was after that.
When he was in Muhammad Ali in the 70s. Yeah, Joe Bugner was a 70s fighter. Lots and lots of talent. Or people always question the fact that he didn't quite let his hands go, but a real character.
Yes,
Aussie Joe.
Aussie Joe. Sad news indeed. Happy birthday to Emiliano Martinez, the Villa goalkeeper, getting ready, no doubt, to train with Aston Villa this morning, when it looked like he would head
be on his way
to Manchester United.
So much for my cast iron copper bottom projection of Mark Guehi, right?
Well, to be fair, at that time, and you very kindly showed me the information that you had, and at that time of the day yesterday, it was cast iron. But things change. And that is the whole essence of transfer deadline day. Still on the subject of goalkeepers, incidentally, in the last few moments, Manchester City have confirmed they have signed Gianluigi Donnarumma from PSG. I think NASA was glad that Donnarumma was moving out of Paris Saint-Germain, from what I gather.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. People were critiquing. I mean, Emmanuel Petit, who I don't want to argue with his football knowledge because he's achieved such things at a high level.
Yeah.
But he was debating the thought processes of Enrique in one hand and Pep Guardiola in the other. Yeah. And I often find myself, I know people can lose their luster, but it's difficult to sort of work out why anyone would question what Guardiola thinks is a goalkeeper that he wants to sign and why Enrique might want to get rid of him. Here is the guy that's the champion of Europe right now, and here's the guy that's dominated English football for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a possibility they might know what they're doing.
Oh, I would think
Maybe.
so.
There's a rumour.
Simon, you were right yesterday. When we were sitting here with Petit in the studio, it looked virtually nailed on that Mark Guehi would be joining Liverpool. But he hasn't. He stayed with Crystal Palace. The move collapsed after the 7 p.m. deadline, in spite of Palace and Liverpool reaching an agreement of £35 million. Guehi had completed a medical and personal terms were agreed. Palace had even shot a farewell video for their captain, which has since leaked on social media. I mean, you can end up red-faced on deadline day through no fault of your own. It's understood the deal was pulled after the intervention from Oliver Glasner, who was extremely unhappy at the decision to accept Liverpool's offer in talks with the board. And if you remember, on Sunday night, Glasner sent a very powerful message of his own on this man, Mark Guehi.
He's our player, he's under contract, he's not striking, he's playing fantastic, he's our captain, we can decide. So nobody forces anybody to sign a deal, yeah? And it's up to us. So the only one who decides if Mark stays at Crystal Palace or not, and I have to say it in this clarity, is our chairman and nobody else. And it's all about Crystal Palace future, about this season. You know, we have such great times at the moment. This football club, maybe the most successful in his history. Yeah, and now the club has to take a decision which direction the Crystal Palace wants to go. I think this is the decision to make, and then let's see what happens tomorrow.
In this very studio last night, Simon, Alex Crook sat in the chair to the left of you and said to us, Glasner had virtually said to Palace, listen, you might have a problem with me if Guehi disappears to Liverpool. In other words, we're saying I might consider my position at a football club.
I mean, okay, there's Glasner will leave Palace at the end of next year, I suspect. I don't see him renewing his contract. So we're talking about something that's going to happen anyway. Now, whether Palace wanted it to happen instantaneously, whether he was going to do what others do, which is if he doesn't get precisely what he wants, he leaves. He has a case. Of course he has a case. You can't have done what he's done and had the success that he's had without feeling that you've got some sense of entitlement to be given some more support to be able to continue your progress. So I'm with him. I'm normally on the other side of the fence saying, well, hang on, people have got to get on with what they've got to get on with. They've got a contract, they've got an obligation. In this instance, I can understand Glasner's position. I can also understand Palace's position. Like, there's nothing Steve Parish or the board can do about Mark Guehi's refusal to sign a contract a year ago. So they are now in a situation, what Oliver Glasner is saying is, and I suppose in some respects he's right to say it, in other respects you have to look at the picture of what the football club is. The football club exists beyond Oliver Glasner, exists beyond Steve Parish, existed beyond me, and so on and so forth. Right? The here and now, you've just traded the here and now. Now, you can only live in the here and now. You can only live for today. I get that. But in a year's time, if Oliver Glasner leaves and Mark Guehi leaves, what will have been achieved? A slightly better season. But there'll be £30-40 million out of pocket. Palace is not a football club that has enormous amounts of money available to it because its shareholders don't want to give it to them. Yeah. They've got plenty of money, but they don't put it into the football club. They take it out. So with best respects to them, they've got an opportunity to sell a player for 35 million quid. They should. And Glasner saying, well, if I'm going to sell my centre-back, if I'm going to sell my best midfield player, my inside right in Guehi, surely I've got to have something to replace it.
Yeah.
So his argument would have been, clearly, they bought him a centre-back for 23 million euros, but he doesn't want to play him, apparently, according to press reports, because he's too young. He's a project.
Yeah.
The hell is a project at 25 million euros? When did a 25 million euro player become a project?
Yeah.
Surely he should be a first-team player and available.
Ready to play.
So with all that in mind, I make him right for saying to, in no uncertain terms, to the management of Crystal Palace, in this instance, Steve Parish, I expect to be supported. And taking away my best players and selling them without giving me replacements is not supporting it.
And that's a departure for you to go in that direction. Because normally when somebody holds a gun to someone else's head and said, listen, unless this happens, I'm out of here, you would possibly balk at that.
But you have to have a reasonable... There has to be... I always believe in equitability in a relationship. I believe that there is a fairness on both sides and people doing what they say they're going to do. It cannot be... Glasner cannot have signed on to Palace to have been given very little money last year. I mean, my understanding is they had to virtually shoehorn Palace into buying Muniz for 7 million euros. Look at Muniz now. Yeah. Look at that player.
Yeah.
And now look at this summer. They've sold Eze for 60 million quid cash, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And 7 million. So they've got cash around. They've got another 35 million coming from Guehi. They've bought nobody. If you're the manager of that football team, you're going to say, I've delivered you an FA Cup. I've punched really high in the Premier League. I've got a year left on my contract. If you are seriously expecting me to stay beyond that contract, you've got to show me something.
Sure. Yes.
So in that instance, I would go against the grain of what people would expect my reaction to be. People have an expectation of my reaction and say, well, he has a point. He had a point all summer. And if you wanted to sell Guehi, which is entirely reasonable, he's out of contract next year. He's going to be gone.
Yeah.
35 million quid is gone. You should have bought a centre-half.
Of course. And interestingly,
one that you can play.
As Guehi remained professional throughout the entire process, which he did. We saw what happened with Isak and we saw what happened with Guehi when they publicly agitated for their moves. Danny Murphy in this very studio picked up on that last night.
Every player's individual, and Guehi's supposed to be a great lad, so respect to him for the way he's conducted himself. What I'm saying is, the way football is sometimes, this opportunity might never come again. There's a possibility of that.
I get what you're saying.
Now, sometimes an opportunity comes to you in life where you have to do whatever it takes to get to that place, in whatever way you look at it.
Yeah.
He didn't. He decided, I'm going to keep playing, do the right thing. He made it easy for Palace to keep him. If he'd have kicked up a stink a couple of weeks ago, already out the team, telling Parish, if you don't let me have this opportunity, which might never come to me again, all the things that Isak's done, Wissa's done.
But that's great. But it is the only thing that's going to happen to Mark Guehi is he might get injured. He's a centre-back. He's a rare breed. He's a top-quality international footballer, right? That's available on a free transfer at 25, 26 years of age in a year's time. It makes absolute sense for Guehi to play nicely. Isak had 3 years left on his contract. Wissa had however long he had left on his contract. Guehi is at the top of his game. He's at a football club that his reputation isn't going to go backwards. He's a good player.
Yes.
He's a top player. He's an international player. He's going to be part of the World Cup squad next year. What do you think is going to happen next summer? You think his reputation is going to be worse? The only thing that can happen to Mark Guehi that can stymie him is an injury. Well, he could get that anyway. He could get that anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to wager you his agents would have been saying, listen, it'd be ideal to go to Liverpool. It would be ideal to go to Liverpool now. But notwithstanding that, there's a January transfer window. Liverpool will come again in January because they might need some European Champions League support for centre-back. Yeah. And Palace might have got themselves together by that time. They'll know what they're doing with Glasner, and they might get 15 million for him in the January window. I don't think it's a comparison. I think Danny's point is that if you don't kick up rough, well, it depends on the attitude of who you play for. This is my point. I'm an idealist. I'm a little bit like Brian Clough. I believe in fairies. To quote his interview with back of Don Revy in the day. Yes. Right? I look at it and say, well, what about football clubs going, no, I'm sorry. I don't care what you do. I don't care about the histrionics. I don't care about the orthodoxy. I don't care about what you think you're entitled to. You're going to do as you're told.
Right.
And that's the challenge that I always rail against.
Sure.
And I try and put myself in those situations and go, what would I really do besides barking in a radio studio, which is easy to do? What would I really do?
Yeah.
And if I hadn't said to Isak or given him any assertions that he could feed upon, which he tried to suggest that he'd been given someone's undertaking, and I hadn't done that, I would concentrate that sod's mind quicker than a quick thing from Quickland.
So let's put it out there to Palace fans. Guehi stays, and Oliver Glasner really showed what he could do for the cause, for the Palace cause. I mean, in terms of Glasner, in terms of Guehi, do you salute these two this morning for what they've done throughout this process? You might want to give us a call on this. How pleased are you that Mark Guehi is still with you in London and hasn't gone to the northwest to Liverpool? 03717 223344 81089. Isak got his way, Isak got his way, and a whole bunch of things took off in deadline day. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. morning, everybody. Jim White, Simon Jordan. This is Tuesday, September the 2nd. We're live on talkSPORT. And as well as listening to us, you can watch the show. Watch talkSPORT on your TV. So many of you did last night. We are absolutely thrilled at the numbers who tuned in. You can watch us on Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android and Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you watch, we are here for you. Mr. Jordan and myself are here for you. Incidentally, Simon, just in the passing, great performance, I thought, from Emmanuel Petit in the studio yesterday with you and me. You enjoy his company?
Well, he's very forthright, Emmanuel, isn't he? He was very forthright when we were in Germany, and what was so refreshing about him was you asked him a question, you got an answer, an unfiltered answer, without any insulation against who he was going to upset and which orthodoxy he was going to defy. I don't agree with some of the things he says, but I agree with the reasons why he says them.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sure he thinks the same of me.
Indeed. Well, I think so. I just showed Simon I'm involved in a very... glad you're all with us this morning. Involved in a very interesting text exchange at the moment with the agent of Alexander Isak. I might bring some of that to air in an attempt to bring him to air. We'll see how that goes, Simon. So Mark Guehi stays at Crystal Palace and didn't go to Liverpool. His move from Palace to Liverpool collapsed after the 7 o'clock deadline, in spite of Palace and Liverpool reaching an agreement of £35 million. Before I come to James, who's a big Palace fan, Simon, is losing out on £35 million for one more year of Guehi worth it?
It depends what they do with it. I mean, if the team finishes 5 or 6 spaces higher up the league, then you're going to be £15-20 million better off as a result of his contribution. He's a very, very good player. Palace have helped to make him a very good player. You know, they gave him an opportunity. If you remember, look at the early interview. I mean, you saw it last night in the video that was leaked, which, by the way, I don't think is particularly embarrassing. Palace produced the video, assuming that the player would go through, assuming that other deals would drop. And so, you know, I don't think it's particularly embarrassing. I think it's we mustn't compare the situations between Isak and Wissa with Guehi. Because, as I said earlier on, the big distinguishing factor is that Mark has 1 year left on his contract. And that is such a big difference in a player's life because they know that likely in 3 or 4 months' time, this could come calling again.
Yeah.
And all players will back themselves. And this is a top centre-back. And we know as a matter of course that they are as rare as rocking horse. And at 35 million quid, you can't buy a top centre-half for 35 million quid. And so the fact he's going to be free next year, I mean, he's going to be able to feed this generation, the generation after that, the generation after that, and the opportunity is going to arrive in his salary as a result of there being no transfer fee. So whilst that's nice and refreshing in certain people's minds that the low-level footballer that thinks it's all about himself has operated in a certain way, a tried and trusted way with the people that supposedly uphold the standards of the game, like the union saying nothing about it. On the other side of it, you've got Mark Guehi that's simply stayed with his contract. And I suppose in this day and age, we should say, well, at least he didn't kick up.
Oh, exactly. He didn't kick up and he stays and he fights the cause for Crystal Palace after suggestions that Glasner could step down if the deal had been sanctioned. James is a big Palace fan. James, good morning. What do you think of what Glasner said? What do you think of what Guehi has done?
Yeah, morning, guys. I think I'm not sure exactly what Glasner said, but I do feel that this is all getting out of proportion, really, because Guehi has always stated that, you know, he would be happy to stay on at Crystal Palace. And I feel that the media have been really sort of trying to make something out of this, that there isn't anything really to make out of it, because either way, it was down to the club whether they sell him or not. Guehi stays. He's happy to stay. He will get a good deal at the end of the season. Should he go off on a freebie, it could go to whichever.
Yeah,
club
but James, hang on a second. The closer we got to the 7 o'clock deadline last night, and no doubt you were listening to us live on talkSPORT or watching us on the show, you must have been thinking, he's out of there.
Yeah, I was, and to be honest with you, most of the supporters that I've been in chat with didn't want him to go, and we were happy to write off another. You know, we've written off 35 million over the last season because we were offered 65 million, and we wrote off 35 million, but we ended up winning the FA Cup with him and the Community Shield. So now this season we're going to write off another 35 million. But hey ho, we might win the European Cup that we're in, and we might end up top 6 in the Premier League. So it could be worth writing off another 35 million.
What do you think, James? I'm interested in your attitude and your approach. I think it's to be commended, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, in a year's time, or with due respect to James, he may not be in this crowd, but there will be a crowd of people saying, we should never let him go on a free. And that's the challenge of modern day football. You've got a contract, it's a commercial business, it runs on money, and the main commodity, as we're seeing when you've got 260% spike on people listening to transfers, you know it's that situation.
Yeah.
So you've got to protect yourself, and Palace are in a difficult position because the player won't sign a new contract. So 99% of football clubs would not bank on perhaps they're going to win the Europa League, which is going to be worth 25 million quid. Would not bank on the fact they're going to go further up the league, even though they're selling their best other players, their creative players. Would say commercial thinking has to come to play, which is what happened. The only thing I can't understand, and I don't understand, and maybe James has a view on it if he's still there, is why Palace didn't buy another centre-half.
Well, let's put that to Reg, who's another Palace fan. Why didn't they buy another centre-half? Why didn't they get somebody in who might have been like Guehi in terms of standard, in terms of profile, Reg? Good morning.
Good morning. My only salient point is that he has never asked for this transfer, and he never wanted. He all along, according to us fans, we believe he would stay to honour his contract, and that's what he would do. It's an honourable thing. He would honour his contract. Then he's got the right to make any decision he wants to. I do agree we should have been a bit more forward-thinking in signing a replacement, and if we could get one, we'd let him go with a blessing. I'm sure we would. Nobody would deny him that. He's been such a good servant for us.
Yeah. Reg, listen, thanks for the call. Here's John, a Liverpool fan, who wants to say just before we hit 10:30. John, good morning.
Morning, gents. A bit disappointed by this one, if I'm honest. We haven't got a God-given right to buy any player. Let me get that clear. And I rang you last week after the Newcastle game saying that we need to go out and pay what Palace want for him. I think we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot by leaving it last minute. And also, I don't get the commercial value, because if we'd have paid 35, 40 million for him a week ago, we would have doubled our money immediately. And we would have had that backup. And obviously, Canate with injury has expedited it just a little bit. But I really think that we've missed out the boat on this one, and hopefully we can go back in January.
What about Isak? You throw that is done, and he's a Liverpool player at 125 million, John.
Can I let you know at the end of the season? I'm still a bit wary of the attitude, and when Real Madrid come calling, I'm hopeful Liverpool is the team he wants to play for. But it does raise a couple of questions, if I'm honest. When you look at the two, Mark Guehi, you're getting 35 million, 40 million for somebody who's got an exemplary attitude. Hopefully we'll get that with Isak, but only time will tell.
What a good call. John, thank you for that. A lot to get through this morning off the back of the events of last night, that and a whole lot more. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
the complete centre-forward.
If you were to choose a centre-forward looking around Europe, he'd be at the top of most people's list. So I think Liverpool fans will be ecstatic, excited. The only disappointment is the saga around it.
But the Reds didn't quite hit their mark elsewhere. Guehi's move from Palace fell through. We understand Oliver Glasner threatened to walk out if the defender was sold. Our transfer correspondent Ben Jacobs told us Brighton's Igor choosing West Ham was the deciding factor.
And as a result, they came back to that original agreement at the beginning of the day. If two come in, Guehi can leave. Glasner didn't like it, but he accepted it. So only one came in, and then they had to have meetings again. And I think that Steve Parish probably changed his opinion and backed his manager.
So how big of a miss could that be for the title defenders? Well, ex-Liverpool forward and fan of the club Ricky Lambert told talkSPORT Liverpool do need Guehi.
Our best run ever. Joe Gomez was at the centre of our defence for all that beginning of that season. So there's a player there as well. Yeah. But the cover-wise, we probably did need another centre-back.
Elsewhere, Edison is off to Fenerbahce for 12 million, while Man City have signed Donnarumma. And Johan Wissa says he's happy to sign for one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League. More on all that at talksport.com.
Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
Good morning, everybody. Jim White, Simon Jordan, just gone 10:30 this Tuesday morning. Let's pick out who's been the real deal this week with Selco Builders Warehouse. Simon, when you look at it, Newcastle's transfer window, I was in touch with club director Jamie Rubin last night, Simon, who's over in New York. And he came back with, it's been a very long window, feeling delighted to have the team now in a really strong position, competition in every position, and in a healthy financial state. He says, I believe this is a transformational window, and we are really pleased with the players we have got in. Of course, in comes Wolfameda and in comes Wissa, but out goes Alexander Isak. This transformational window, Simon, can it be framed as a success for Newcastle United?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Wissa is okay, isn't he? I mean, I don't think he's a wonderful player. He's 29 years of age. They paid £55 million for a 29-year-old, or he's about to become 29 in a day's time. The boy that they bought, looks a good player. Is he a German player?
German player, yeah.
Looks a good player. And Alanga's a decent player and had a great season. He wasn't great at United for a period of time, but he was great at Forest and really came alive there. So it's interesting to see what Eddie Howe would think about it. And clearly these are players that he wanted. The big loss is Isak. Isak is, whatever we think of him as his behaviour has exhibited over the last 2 or 3 months, is a Rolls Royce of a player. So you're losing that and gaining what you would yet to be determined. We've seen what Wissa is. He's okay. So they've done okay there. They've paid a lot of money for an okay player that will fulfil the role that maybe Callum Wilson has vacated to some extent.
Yeah.
But the main guy is the German guy they built, and we've yet to see him. Now, when we were asked about Isak 3 years ago from Real Sociedad, what would people have said then? They would have said,
"Oh, true."
So we've got to give this guy some chat. I mean, Eddie Howe has done a brilliant job at Newcastle. He's been a brilliant coach for them. This has been a difficult period, but, life's full of challenges, isn't it? There's much greater difficulties outside of football that people have to contend with rather than a player wanting to leave. And we'll see what Newcastle do this season because they've got a fire on a number of fronts, haven't they?
They have. When you look at Newcastle's statement regarding Isak's departure, short and sweet comes to mind. Newcastle United can announce the sale of striker Alexander Isak to Liverpool for a significant British record transfer fee. We know it was 125 million. The Sweden international joined the Magpies from Real Sociedad in 2022 and made 109 appearances in all competitions. Full stop. That was it. This was Isak on arrival at Liverpool.
Well, Alex, it's done. You're a Liverpool player. Can you describe how you're feeling right now?
I feel amazing. It's been a long journey, you know, to get here. But I'm super happy to be a part of this team, this club, and everything it stands for. It's something I'm proud of, and I'm really looking forward to.
Why was it Liverpool for you? Why were Liverpool the club you wanted to join?
I think it's a mixture of what the club is building, but what they're building on top of what the club already is and the history of the club. So I think just me getting the chance to be a part of this, and you know, I want to create history. I want to win trophies. That's ultimately the biggest motivation for me, and I feel like this is a perfect place for me to grow even further and to take my game and to next level and help the team as well.
Finally, they have been waiting for this moment. What would you say to Liverpool fans watching this interview?
Just that I'm so happy that I'm finally here. Can't wait to get back out there, and hopefully we can share some amazing moments together.
So that was Isak. Sounded out of breath, didn't he? That was him on arrival at Liverpool and saying what we'd expect to hear from a player who's just joined a big
doubt
club.
he knows much about Liverpool's history, but what he does know about is their present, which is that they are the Premier League champions and arguably the best team in the country right now.
Yeah.
And the team that needed a centre forward. So I would suspect that if Man City had been in situ and were the Premier League's champion and wanted to buy him, didn't have Erling Haaland, he might have gone there. The fact is, Liverpool had the need. Liverpool had a centre forward requirement. Some might say they filled it with the other player that they bought, but Isak is a Rolls Royce. So we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's coming in with a lot of expectation, a huge price tag, and people will say, "Oh, it's not his fault, the price tag." Okay, well, that gives him a get out of jail. Let's make sure he performs. Let's make sure he's held to the highest standard possible because he's executed and created and curated the situation. No excuses. This is a £125 million footballer, straight in the side, straight into scoring goals, or be judged by that.
Judge this for me. Newcastle's behaviour in this window. The first bid for Wissa went in from £25 million to a deadline day capture of £55 million.
Yeah.
They had a £35 million bid turned down by Brighton for João Pedro. Went back in with £50 million, but the forward went to Chelsea. There was a £70 million bid for Ekitike. He went to Liverpool. Yeah. There was a £70 million offer for Benjamin Sesko. He chose Manchester United. Yeah. There were two bids for Jørgen Strand Larsen, another player who told his club Wolves that he wanted to leave, but it never materialised. Newcastle end the window with Wissa, Jacob Ramsey, Malik Thiaw, Voltemada, Anthony Elanga and Aaron Ramsdale.
Well, I mean, they wanted Visa from the get-go, didn't they? They just didn't want to pay anything more than they felt they had to. I mean, again, all these so-called deal makers out there that know how to do deals that have never done in their lives would suggest that you just go in there and pay the price. Okay, they got the player in the end, right? The player gets to look bad. I mean, if they'd have gone into Brentford and bid £55 million on day one, what do you think Brentford would have done? They would have said, we want £65 million.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So the point is that you can't do right for doing wrong. They achieve the outcomes that they achieved. You cannot compete. This is the unfairness of the current landscape of football, which is, what can Newcastle do to upset the apple cart? What can Newcastle do to upset the legacy football clubs, to destabilise the grip that the big six have over English football?
Yeah.
What can they do? Well, they can't buy their way into that position, as the other clubs have done. They can't rely on the history that's catapulted the teams like Liverpool through the 70s and 80s and 90s, through a barren period of not winning the Premier League for 30 years, to being back now amongst the clubs that are dominating European and English football. What can Newcastle do? They can't do a lot, can they? They can't buy that success. They've got to wait. They've got to build it organically. They've got to buy the best players they can and take incremental steps. And that's the unfairness of the situation that Newcastle find themselves in, because they've got an ownership model, albeit a relatively compliant ownership model that's not ruffling any feathers. And they're spending money, but they're losing out to the legacy clubs. I mean, United still have their lustre, still have their images. I mean, if I were a player, would I go for United or Newcastle United? I don't know. I'd speak to both coaches. And if I spoke to both coaches, I think I know which coach I'd go and play for.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that they have their lustre. Chelsea, I've got such a reputation over the last 25 years because they were allowed, with due respect to them as a football club, to inject vast amounts of money to manufacture outcomes out of one man's wishes.
Right.
Not out of the organic growth of Chelsea, because they were the peacocks of King's Road.
Isak is away to play for Sweden against Slovenia. Then he'll be back, no doubt be on the bench for Liverpool's first game. Maybe. Who knows? How does Isak and his agent come out of this?
Well, you've got some quotes from his agent, sort of Socrates, Plato-like philosophies that he's giving us there.
Well, I may as well bring it to air. Vlado Lemic, Alexander Isak's agent, just asking him for a comment this morning, does he want to join us? He's come back with a very short quote. It's nice when you have someone to be with, but it's even nicer when you know who you'll never be with again.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be welcome to Newcastle pretty soon.
Discuss.
Well, he's having a poke at Newcastle, I suspect. That'll enrage the Newcastle fans even further. I mean, the one flip side is they probably haven't got to deal with him again. How do they come out of it? I mean, you talk about Newcastle's statement. What are Newcastle supposed to say? They were called liars and disingenuous by a player. They were weak and didn't feel the vacuum, and they allowed this to get out of hand. And they could have controlled this narrative much better and controlled the player's mind much better. And maybe the player would still have been a bit difficult, a bit tricky, but it wouldn't have been this running soap opera with he said, she said. They would have nipped it in the bud. And I don't like that, because they've allowed the oxygen. In the end, they've sold the player. In the end, they've got somewhere between what they wanted in an ideal world that was never really there. If they weren't going to get Liverpool to 150 million quid, but they got Liverpool to 125. So they met them halfway. Somehow they got another 5 million out of a solidarity payment, whether Liverpool are paying that solidarity payment to another football club on behalf of some sort of obligation, or whether it's a loyalty payment that the player has so graciously waived to get what he wanted. Of course, I can't quite imagine why any loyalty payment would be prevalent besides the contractual situation, which he's chosen to break by refusing to work. So I'd imagine that's an easy gimme. You ain't getting that loyalty payment, sling your hook. But I think that at the end of the day, it all becomes chip paper. And now you've got to hold this player to the highest. He should be given no dispensation, no football platitudes, no football crap orthodoxy. He's got to settle in. He's a top footballer. He wanted this move. Hit the ground running, judging by those standards.
Yeah, let's see what you're made of. Newcastle United fans, how are you feeling this morning about this transformational window that it's been dubbed by one of your directors? Because Alexander Isak, whether you liked it, whether you didn't, he's gone. 125 million quid. What's your take on it all now that he has gone? Is it good riddance? And what about the players you've brought in? Wissa, Ramsey, Thiaw, Voltemada, Elanga and Ramsdale. Where are you at with that? Is it indeed a transformational window for you?
You transform yourself from having the best centre forward in world football to having some also-rans. So it's transformational, yeah.
Let's see. Also-rans, let's see what they're made of, though.
Well, this is my point.
All right.
I think we've seen what the Brentford player's made of. He is an average centre forward or an average forward in the Premier League. Not a superstar.
Voltemada could set the place alight.
Well, we'll see. We don't know that yet, but you've transferred. No, neither does the fella that gave you that statement. I can guarantee you. Does he know how good this player either is?
Newcastle fans, how are you feeling this morning now it's all over? Isak's gone. What's your take on it? 03717 223344 810 89. And that was our pick for this week's Real Deal with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch. View online at selcobw.com.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.
It is Tuesday morning. We're going to take some Newcastle calls the other side of 11 o'clock. Now that we know the dust is settled, Isak is gone. Newcastle are £125 million richer as a result of that, but they have forked out in decent style for a whole bunch of players because incomings have been more than just a few. We'll take some Newcastle calls at the other side of 11. In the meantime, Spain's La Liga and Italy's Serie A are attempting, as we know, to export regular season matches abroad this season. La Liga very hopeful of staging December's fixture between Villarreal and Barcelona in Miami, Florida, while the Italian top flight is planning to stage February's game between Milan and Como. That would be in Perth, Western Australia. So they're all in. La Liga up for it, Serie A are up for it. But supporters groups here have written a joint letter to FIFA urging it not to sanction any domestic league matches being moved abroad. And of course, there's constant talk about what would be the first Premier League match ever to be played abroad and how likely is it that that is going to happen. The executive director of Football Supporters Europe Group is Ronan Evan. And Ronan joins us live on the show this morning. Ronan, good morning. You are dead set against this happening, and in no small way do you want to see any football game, whether it's a La Liga match, whether it's Serie A, or certainly whether it's Premier League, played abroad. So expand on that for me.
Good morning. Yes, that's a black and white matter. This is something that has to do with the very essence of the game. A club is connected to a city, to a territory, to a community, to a country, and starting to move domestic competition abroad is the end of this football as we know it. It's the end of this connection between the club and the territory. So there is no baby step that we will accept. There is no compromise. There is no and the project that we are fighting against at the moment, their main argument is that it's just one game out of 380. But this is to test the waters, obviously, and then we know how this will pan out. Death by a thousand cuts. We start with one game, and then we open the Pandora's box, and God knows where this will end.
But, I mean, I would ask you, how much power do you think, how much sway or influence do you have as fans to say to FIFA, no, we don't want this at all, any match being played abroad? We just don't want it.
Well, we know that we can have a certain amount of influence on the governance of the game. We also know that we can build alliances with sports governing bodies, with political institutions. The European Commissioner came out very strongly against this project last week. We know that this requires FIFA, UEFA's approval, and so now we are in active discussions with both organizations to try to drive this into the right direction.
Serie A say taking matches abroad would, quotes, promote Italian football on a global scale. La Liga president Javier Tebas, he gets a regular mention on this show. He said there are thousands of fans around the world, many of them European residents, who also deserve the chance to see their teams live at least once. Has Tebas got a point? Have the Italians not got a point?
No, the fans abroad that are fans of those teams, they are fans of those teams in a certain environment. If you come from Miami and you're a fan of Barcelona, if you're from Singapore and you're a fan of Liverpool, you also identify to the whole fabric of the game around it, to the whole atmosphere around the pitch. Now, if clubs become traveling circuses, become entertainment companies and start playing all over the world, this connection with this culture, with this territory will slowly disappear. So there's no such thing as a right to see a football game. People can watch a game on TV, can enjoy pre-season tours, can go to the Club World Cup and whatnot if they want to enjoy international football. But there's no legitimate argument to bring competition at the door of American or Australian football. There is local football that has the right to exist and to grow and to develop. And what we're seeing here is not the internationalization of football. It's just European football bringing competition at the door of domestic leagues in Australia and the US.
Ronan, I'm bringing Simon in. I mean, Simon Tebas would say, well, hang on, I'll tell you what the argument is. It's a commercial one and we're up for it.
Well, that is the argument. I mean, You can't determine fandom's right by geography. I don't think that's the right argument. I think fans are legitimate fans around the world because they want to be. It's like saying that Man United fans that are dispersed around Surrey are not entitled to go and watch Man United because they live in Surrey. I agree in principle, in the broadest terms, with the argument that football shouldn't be moving around. The reality of it is it's going to. And there'll be lots of noise and lots of dissent, and the fans will make lots of noise. FIFA have already been challenged through the US courts and stepped away and don't want to be part of this anymore. So they haven't been. So the process that relevant sports did to be able to overcome the obstacles that were being blocked by FIFA are no longer in that mix. So I see it as an inevitability. Whether I agree with it is a different matter. And I'm in principle in the same place as this fella. But the idea that the fans are going to shout this down, with due respect to what's happening to football and the commercial realities of football, is probably, I know that they'll turn towards the Super League, and I know that they'll turn towards that as a win. Different set of dynamics, different set of parameters, different set of thinking. This will happen. I hope it doesn't happen in the Premier League. There's less need for it to happen in the Premier League because the reasons why it's happening in Serie A or La Liga is because they cannot keep up with the economic juggernaut that is the Premier League. The only reason the Premier League will have a look-see is if it proves to be so successful for these clubs. Rowan is absolutely right. It will be the thin edge of the wedge. It won't be one game because the commercial realities of one game have very little benefit.
Yeah.
The Americans themselves, if you talk to, and I was over there talking to the MLS, they don't really want this because it shows up their football for where that is. They don't really want domestic European leagues playing on their shores, highlighting what they haven't got in terms of quality. But there's no doubt, with due respect to a pressure group shouting loud, this is going to happen, and it will happen sooner rather than later.
Ronan, how do you like that? You're pushing against an unstoppable train here.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the case with the Super League as well. This is not fans alone that can stop it. We're building a coalition. There is an unanimous rejection from also a number of leagues, of national associations, of politicians across Europe. So we are confident that we can stop this. The future might prove me wrong, but there are regulators within the game. There's UEFA, there's FIFA. They have the power to stop this from happening. The economic reality of this is very disputable. Serie A is going to Australia, and the business model of this is public money. It's Australian public money from Perth region to attract the game. The business model of La Liga going to the US, it's hard to understand how they will make any benefits with the proposals that La Liga and Villarreal have made. That now they're talking about flying 20,000 season ticket holders from Villarreal to Miami to enjoy the game. That would require a lot of money and a very expensive tickets for American fans in order to compensate for the 35 or 40 million euros that it would take to ship all these fans to the US.
Rowan, I agree.
I'm not sure about the economic reality of this.
Right, Rowan, I agree with your principles. The fact of the matter is I'm slightly at odds with you in terms of the reality of the influence that you think you're going to have. Politicians, I don't want anywhere near sport, and if you do, then fantastic. You'll reap the whirlwind of that some stage in the future when you don't want politicians near sports. Why do you think that FIFA, given the fact that FIFA have already been challenged in America, overcome in America, and have stood down their rejection or the resistance to it, why do you think FIFA are now going to come back to the table?
Well, if it's not FIFA, FIFA has the possibility to do the right thing. They're supposed to change their regulation and nothing much has happened. If it's not FIFA, then it's down to us in Europe to protect our vision of the game. So there's been a settlement in the US. Now, it is certainly not for a US court or for relevant to decide the future of the European game. So
agreed.
If it's down to UEFA and to the national associations in Europe to protect the game, that's what needs to happen. There is a clear wish from us fans, and I'm extremely confident that there are millions of fans behind this call for proper regulation.
Agreed.
So if FIFA can't regulate the game, then it's down to European football to put the necessary safeguards.
Ronan, the final one for me. If Villarreal play Barcelona in Miami in December, as La Liga hopes, you're struggling after that, aren't you? Because more games will follow.
Yeah. Clearly, there are more leagues that are lined up. I think if you're a fan of any of the, let's say, top 10 leagues, you're at risk of seeing the game being taken abroad. I think the temptation for the others is going to be extremely high. Thankfully, there are protections in place in England that makes it a lot more difficult. But I think no one is safe.
Okay, Ronan Evan, Executive Director, Football Supporters Europe. Thank you so much. Simon and I might have a nibble at that the other side of the bulletin at 11.
supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Roy Hodgson's told talkSPORT what Isak and Wissa did to force their transfers is not a good look for football and fears it may encourage other players to down tools. Isak finally got his Liverpool move for a British record 125 million. But Hodgson says missing out on Guehi is a blow.
In Guehi, I would put right up there alongside Isak in terms of those, and Viets possibly in terms of the quality of those signings they've made.
To make matters worse, for Guehi, his Palace exit video was leaked somehow, despite his move collapsing over pressure from Glasner and the lack of a replacement. Palace fan and comedian Andrew Mensah told us Selhurst is delighted.
To keep him kind of feels like a bit weird almost, do you know what I mean? It kind of feels, because as you said, like all summer long, I think he was the one out of all the crop of players, Mateta, Walton, even Ebbs, that they thought would go first.
Deals are still being completed. Gianluigi Donnarumma's now joined Man City for £26 million. That's a 5-year deal. Edison says he's honoured to have spent 8 years dominating the Premier League and conquering Europe. His move to Fenerbahce is confirmed, and Manuel Akanji is off to Inter on a season-long loan. Brighton midfielder Matt O'Reilly joins former head coach Roberto De Zerbi at Marseille. That's also a one-season loan. All the latest at talksport.com. And with the Ashes less than 12 weeks away, Aussie captain Pat Cummins has a back injury. Cricket Australia are confident Cummins will be fit for the first test in Perth, even if he doesn't play at all in the meantime. More Ashes build up on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT. With QuickFit, come rain or shine, we've got your car's inbuilt safety tech covered with expertly trained technicians across the country, so you can drive away happy every time.
Rain moving east across southern counties of England and Wales. Elsewhere, a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers. Lighter winds, temperatures around average.
Good morning, everybody. 6 minutes past 11 o'clock. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're alive and well and live on talkSPORT. And we are everywhere these days and thrilled to be so. If you want to watch the show, you can. You can do that on your TV. Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, and Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you watch, we are here for you in the 17th floor of the news building. And thanks to everybody who is doing just that. We're going to take some calls from Newcastle fans in a few moments. Many of you trying to get through. Of course, you've brought in a bunch of players, but Alexander Isak eventually went to Liverpool for a British record signing at £125 million. Has the whole thing left somewhat of a bad taste in your mouth, or how do you feel now that you've got the giant German up front? You've got Wissa through the door as well. You've got Alanga in there too. You've got Jacob Ramsey in there too. Do you have enough to mount a challenge to, dare I say it, Alexander Isak's Liverpool this season? Give us a call on that, 03717 223344. Simon and I were just in conversation there with Ronan Evan, the Executive Director of Football Supporters Europe, because La Liga are keen to get games played overseas. Serie A are attempting to export regular season matches abroad this season, but Ronan and other supporters groups are saying no, it's not for us. And in a strongly worded joint letter to FIFA, they urge FIFA not to sanction any domestic league matches being moved abroad as well. But I was suggesting that maybe it's become an unstoppable train.
Well, you don't have to worry about that in Scotland, will you? Because they probably pay your teams not to come.
I knew you were coming in with that. I'll tell you something. Could you imagine Rangers Celtic being played in Toronto, Canada? You bet there'd be
there'd be a big audience for that one after watching the game on Sunday.
They would turn out in
especially in Canada.
numbers.
Maybe Justin Trudeau would be watching it, stopping the truckers from going anywhere to watch it.
But Is it an unstoppable train? I mean, with the best will in the world, Ronan Evan and others, when he says we hope to build a coalition of politicians to help our cause, you think, really? A coalition of politicians?
Well, I mean,
that's exactly what you wouldn't want.
Of course. But needs must in this situation. I agree with a lot of the principles of what the fellow was saying. The ability to deliver it. FIFA have already been stood down. They've been stood down from their regulations. And there's no indication they're going to change their regulations because they'll be challenged immediately by those that wish to challenge it. And he's right. Relevant Sports that challenged it through the courts in America, by the way, that are owned by one of the NFL franchise owners. They've got plenty of cash to be able to support any challenges that they want.
Sure.
Have already challenged that and overturned it. Politicians are not necessarily... political influence is not something UEFA particularly encourage. They've already talked about political influence and political appointments in terms of the issues around the independent regulator in this country, and suggesting that that could be a political appointment because UEFA's governance suggests that political influence cannot be foisted over football, which is why the Football Governance Bill has had some real challenges in terms of UEFA's perspective. UEFA will defer to the federations and the individual associations because the governing body of the country is the primary custodian. And if the governing body of the country, as the custodian, feels that they're able to grant their teams the right to play in different parts of the world, I doubt whether UEFA will intercede. That doesn't mean that the fellas shouldn't tub thump and make as much noise as they possibly can, because we do know and we have seen to some extent that fan power can have some influence. The fan-led review, which has led to the independent regulator, which was a foregone conclusion. You must have not written the report and just gone to the end page, because it was effectively what fans see things as through their ideal prism. And then we've now got an independent regulator, and we'll see what that does for football in the longer game.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with their thinking in terms of preserving the history and heritage of sport, and its primary function in life was to entertain the masses and be part of a community, at the same time as become an entertainment business now and a sports business and a winning opportunity for people in life. But unfortunately, the world has turned, and you're not dealing... When you talk about challenging governance, well, Manchester City have challenged the Premier League's governance and overturned their rules with, say, associated party transactions for a start, and got them ruled unlawful. I suspect that there's very little besides imploring these football clubs not to do it that's going to stand in the way of it. Okay. Because the one thing that Andrea Agnelli told me when he was one of the architects, the former owner of Juventus, the architect behind the European Super League, was that all of the clubs signed up to an agreement that they all knew that there was going to be an absolute tsunami of a backlash. And the big thing was to stand still. Stand still, wait for it to die down, and then repackage it in a way that maybe the audience that was going hysterical might like a little bit better.
Okay, well, we've stood still and we're kind of watching now as we are witnessing the after effects of last night's transfer window closing at 7 o'clock. Alexander Isak got his way. £125 million move to Liverpool from Newcastle United. Newcastle have brought in a bunch of players. Wissa, Ramsey, Thiaw, Voltamada, Elanga and Ramsdale. Jamie Rubin, Newcastle director, told me from New York City last night. Competition in every position. We're in a healthy financial position as well. I believe this is a transformational window. We're really pleased with the players that we have got in. Oliver's a big Newcastle fan. Oliver, good morning. Isak's gone. Are you really pleased?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm just there. I thought I'd just pull up the vote and do the opposite as well what the majority of Newcastle fans are doing. At the minute, I'm here to defend Isak and his position, what he's done. I think what he's done for the club and the amount of goals he's scored and the magic he's producing. Obviously, he's won with that trophy the first 70 years. I think at the moment he's got full right to want to go ahead and join Liverpool. Obviously, the way he might have gone about it might have been incorrect. However, I think his decision joining Liverpool, I haven't got anything against that, especially if he thinks he's a £300,000 a week footballer. I mean, if you're putting a price tag of 150 million on a player, I think you should be expecting to pay £300,000 a week for him.
Yeah, but Oliver, if the move hadn't transpired and he didn't get the move to Liverpool, he already said publicly, I don't want to be reintegrated into the Newcastle squad. Would you be on the phone this morning to our show still defending him?
It's hard to say because obviously since that hasn't happened, but I think I still would have loved to see him play for in the black and white stripes this season, no matter what his decision is, just partially because of the matter of fact of, like I was saying before, what he's done for the club. I mean, last season he was the second top goal scorer in the league. The season before that, the third top goal scorer. I mean, he scored 54 goals in 86 games. I mean, you cannot complain with what he's done. And I know he came out and obviously said that he doesn't want to play for the club anymore after that. But I'm sure that he would have been more than welcomed back into the team. But
Okay, Oliver, listen, thanks for the call. Gary's a Newcastle fan. Gary, in comes Wissa, Ramsey, Theo, Voltemada, Elanga, Ramsdale. Have you got enough there and enough now to challenge Isak's Liverpool?
Well, morning, boys, by the way.
Morning.
The thing is, I think Eddie and his brother, the director of football or whatever he is now, I think they've done a canny enough job because, let's face it, a month ago when those damaging words came out from Isak or whoever he appointed to say those words, for me there was no going back, and we're more than just a one-player club. As much as Simon thinks we're a big club in Newcastle, we are quite a large, we've got a big following. And he's strengthened where he's needed to strengthen, because if we were just going to be a one-player club and he got injured, we'd be knackered. That would be the end of it, and we wouldn't have anybody else to bring into other positions to maybe... I don't know if we're going to challenge Liverpool, I'll give you that. I think we'll have a good season as long as we do it right. And the one thing I would say is some of these youngsters that have come in, there's no better manager to put them under than Eddie Howe. When Isak turned up, he was an out. It was Eddie Howe that brought him through, managed him correctly, give him his chances when he wanted to give him his chances, and to all intents and purposes, made him the player that he is. I don't care if the lad doesn't want to play football for Newcastle anymore. I've seen it before with lots of players over the years.
Fair enough, Gary. Fairly pragmatic view from you. We'll finish with George, who's a big Newcastle fan. George, do you wish Isak well?
No, I don't know. I think the way he's acted has been just disgusting. Listen, everyone for brain cell knows that Isak was going to leave either this summer or next. He should be playing for Liverpool, Barca, Real Madrid. That's fine. It's just the way he's done it. You look at Mark Guehi, you know, it's fair play to him how he's acted. I really hope he gets a good move next summer. Just down to he's cost with points this season already. So no, I don't wish him well. I don't wish him well at all. I think he's a rat. But I am happy with the transfer window, and the reason why is 2 years ago when we were in the Champions League, we had some fantastic nights with PSG, all that kind of stuff. But we didn't have the squad depth, which I think now we have. I think we've bought well. I think what we made, obviously, were unknown, but so was Isak. But Simon, I'm a massive fan, I really am. But seeing Wissa's decent, he scored 19 goals last season, and none of them were pens. So I do think he's a very good Premier League striker.
Well done, George. Well done.
Happy to be proven wrong. I mean, with all due respect to Newcastle, and I don't want to burn up any decent currency I may have in this call, the players that you've signed are players that no one's really particularly wanted more than you. And if they had wanted them, they wouldn't have ended up at Newcastle. Because every single player that Newcastle have gone in for, that another football club that's comparable to Newcastle or bigger than Newcastle, they've gone there. So you've got what's left on the table.
Well, George, are you happy to have Elanga on board? Ramsey on board? Voltemada on board?
Yeah.
Wissa on board?
I'm really happy.
You're happy?
I'm happy. I'll explain why. Simon's completely right. We're going for Pedro. We went to Chelsea. Listen, Chelsea's a bigger club than Newcastle at the minute. They can do more wages. Same with, Sesko. It's Man U. I know Man U are rubbish at the minute with that Turkey in charge, but it's still Man U. Yes, we're going for players who no one else went for, but Isak, no one went for him. We bought him. We made him better. And
True.
Also, Jim, massive fan, but to say we're going for Liverpool's league, come on, let's try and get Champions League first before we can get the Prem. This season is to get out of the group stages of the Champions League, whatever it's called now, and try and get fifth or sixth.
Good call, George.
Good
call. George has put you right about a few things there.
Season.
Yeah, George, good call. Thank you for that.
Well, I hope that's the attitude towards Eddie at the end of the season, because there was a point when Eddie had set the heather on fire with such a wonderful set of performances. Then we had that season where they dropped off a little bit, and all of a sudden people were questioning Eddie Howe. Now, you've had a brilliant season last year. If the attitude is, well, look, we don't expect to win the Premier League, which you're not going to win. We don't expect to win the Champions League. We expect to be competitive in the Premier League and maybe get back in the Champions League spot and go out of the group stages. Then fine. That's absolutely fine. Voldemort comes in on the back of when you went. Some of the previous caller said Isak didn't done anything. Well, Isak scored a lot more goals in the games that he played for Sociedad and other teams than this kid Voldemort has scored for. I'm calling him Voldemort. I almost out of Harry Potter. Voldemort has scored in his 111 games. He's scored 24 goals in 111 games. So I don't doubt that Eddie Howe can make him better, but you're replacing a Rolls Royce with.
This would be good.
I'm trying to think of a comparable, a half decent comparison because it's not a Skoda. It's somewhere between. Maybe a Maserati. You've gone from a Rolls Royce to a Maserati, which the Maseratis make lots of noise. I've had one. They make lots of noise and don't go anywhere particularly quickly.
So do you.
True.
Anyway, we'll find out how the Maserati does at Newcastle and how the Rolls Royce does at Liverpool. We've got a bit of a car club comparison there. Jim White and Simon Jordan, live in Talk Sport, with Selco, where the trade goes. Ryder Cup is on the horizon. Good time as any to talk about golf. The European Ryder Cup team is complete. Shane Lowry, John Ram, Sepp Straka, Ludwig Aberg, Victor Hovland and Matt Fitzpatrick are Luke Donald's captain's picks. They'll join McIlroy, McIntyre, Fleetwood, Rose, Højgaard and Tyrrell Hatton to complete the 12-man Europe team. Now that means 11 of the 12 from Rome tee off at Bethpage. The only change sees Højgaard, who qualified automatically, replace his brother Nikolai. Rupert Bell, talkSPORT's golf correspondent, joined Simon and myself live in the show this morning. Rupert, good morning. Consistency, repetition, is that the formula for success when it comes to Team Europe at this Ryder Cup?
I don't think Luke Donald had any other option but to pick more or less the same team. Once Rasmus Højgaard played himself into the lineup recently at the British Masters, coming as one of the automatic selections, I think Luke Donald, knowing what Bethpage is going to be like, went for a whole load of experience. And of course, Ludwig Aberg, we think, came into Italy just 3 months into his professional career, but he's now a multi-time winner and has impressed. Matt Fitzpatrick, I suppose, might have been people's one weak link, but his form of late has seen him rise from 85 in the world early part of this year to now inside the top 30. So, in fact, you look at it, it's a very, I think, sensible. I think Luke Donald probably found it quite an easy thing to do. Maybe Sepp Straka, whose form has tailed off a bit, and he's also been missing tournaments for private matters. But he is sure, Luke Donald that is, that Sepp Straka will turn up in fine form at the end of the month.
I mean, on average, Simon, Europe make 5 in each 2-year cycle. Luke Donald has obviously considered, well, it's better the devil you know.
Sure, for the reasons that Rupert's laid out. I mean, the interesting thing is what difference it will make performing in America against the Americans in a situation where they seem to be, with the exception of Medina, comparatively unsuccessful. I mean, obviously the narrative has changed in America about Keegan Bradley and the fact that he was going to be a playing captain. Now he's not. I mean, are we still in the situation, Rupert? I assume we are. Nothing's really changed. The Americans are massive favourites, tipped to do what they normally do. Can you see that being challenged and pushed hard by the Europeans?
I can. I genuinely do. But it's how they can deal with what will be a bear pit of an atmosphere, which has been stoked up by Bryson DeChambeau by some of his comments recently, that he is basically wanting them to make it really tough for the European players. But they are all used, bar Rasmus Højgaard, of playing regularly in front of American crowds. And I think that's another reason why Luke Donald has gone with what he knows. These players, you've got Matt Fitzpatrick, as I say, coming in a US Open winner. Sepp Straka's won many times. So they've done well but in a team environment, it's a whole new level. And obviously, Whistling Straits, when they played 4 years ago, that was with no European fans at all. But this time, of course, there will be some, those that can afford to go, to cheer on. But they will be heavily outnumbered against a very vociferous New York crowd. But I think the players are relishing the challenge. And with Luke Donald, you have a very steady hand on the tiller. And I think that's the important aspect for the Europeans, that they don't get sidetracked and allow it to sort of intimidate them, and they let their golf do the talking. And that will be the key message, I'm sure, that Donald and his vice captains will be imparting on his team at the end of the month.
Of course, a man of your means, Rupert Bell, could easily afford to go, but talkSPORT are sending you anyway, which is good news for you.
Well, it is, and I'm absolutely delighted to be going.
Of course.
I was and I look forward to Ryder Cup weeks probably more than any. But with Medina, I was lucky enough to be there, which you just never expected to happen. But the important thing there, Luke Donald was part of the revival of that team on the Saturday night, where they came out. And I remember talking to Luke Donald on that Saturday saying, we're not out of this. And they were trailing 10-6. So he gave the team a heartbeat. So he can bring lots of experience of what it's like to be sort of possibly on the drubbing that they could have faced, got the team going, and were able to pull off this miraculous moment in Medina. And hopefully they can do something
Rupert,
similar.
how many of the team now were present in the last Ryder Cup in America?
Rory McIlroy would have been. That's a very good question, a trick question.
Sorry to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to work out what they would be used to in terms of temperature and exposure, and given they're going to go into a bear pit, as you describe it.
Well, Rory McIlroy, there aren't many. Just looking through, I think it might just be Rory.
Right.
Thinking off the top of my head.
I mean, Simon's got a good point, though, Rupert. In the years you've covered events like this, what are they going into? Is it truly a bear pit?
Oh, this will be, I've been to American Ryder Cups, but I've seen Europe win there twice, in fact. But I would have to say the New York crowd will be more vociferous, more possibly ugly than any crowd that they will have played against. But many would have played Bethpage, and Rory McIlroy, remember, that was the famous moment that his timekeeping went awry and had to be there was a police escort to get him to the tea time on that Sunday morning because he overslept or whatever was going on. I have no idea, but anyway, he was very late getting to the course. So, but Rory McIlroy was part of that team. So I hope I've got it right there, Simon. But you're right, it is such a unique occasion, and that's why it's very hard for the
it sure is, and the Americans
will
will do everything they can to turn up the noise because the president, no less, is going to show up. Luke Donald is saying we're all expecting the crowds and the energy and the environment to be very loud, very spirited, and of course the president will add to that. It shows how big the Ryder Cup is that the president of the US would want to come and grace us with his presence. They're pulling out all the stops, Rupert, aren't they?
Yeah, I just love the fact if Europe managed to win when he's there and we win a session 4-0, that would just be fantastic.
You chip in and Trump standing there,
but he's a golf fan. President, I think George Bush has turned up to Ryder Cups before, so it's not a surprise. But obviously, when he's in town, I'm sure for the organisers, it's a security headache. That they don't need, but he is a golf fan. Of course, he famously had that. Bryson DeChambeau and Donald Trump had that YouTube thing they did together. So, he knows many of the team. And I think Keegan Bradley, by saying, right, I am not going to play, actually means that he can get his team say, look, I should have been in this team. You've got to play for me.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best thing that he can say to his team is, look, I should be one of the 12. I desperately wanted to be one of the 12, but I've sacrificed for the good of the team. Now, my 12, you now sacrifice and put your game on the line and make sure we win and regain the cup.
Rupert, thank you very much. Rupert Bell, talkSPORT's golf correspondent, heading out to the Ryder Cup, of course, very soon. It'd be interesting if Trump was playing. He enjoys a preferred lie, I notice.
Well, Trump, if the Europeans were doing quite well, will steer back into his Scottish heritage, won't he, about how his mother was Scottish?
That's right.
I'm sure us Europeans can stand up to a bunch of chubby, plaid-wearing blowhards in New York.
There you go, quite right. Let's go out there. You can stand there with the Union Jack at the side of the 6th screen, make a lot of noise. It's 11:30 this Tuesday morning.
elite centre forward.
If you were to choose a centre forward looking around Europe, he'd be at the top of most people's list. So I think Liverpool fans will be ecstatic, excited. The only disappointment is the saga around it.
But the Reds didn't quite hit their mark elsewhere. Guehi's move from Palace fell through. We understand Oliver Glasner threatened to walk out if the defender was sold. Our transfer correspondent Ben Jacobs told us Brighton's Igor choosing West Ham was the deciding factor.
And as a result, they came back to that original agreement at the beginning of the day. If two come in, Guehi can leave. Glasner didn't like it, but he accepted it. So only one came in, and then they had to have meetings again. And I think that Steve Parish probably changed his opinion and backed his manager.
So how big of a miss could that be for the title defenders? Well, ex-Liverpool forward and fan of the club Ricky Lambert told talkSPORT Liverpool do need Guehi.
Our best run ever. Joe Gomez was at the centre of our defence for all that beginning of that season. So there's a player there as well. Yeah. But the cover-wise, yeah, we probably did need another centre-back.
Elsewhere, Edison is off to Fenerbahce for 12 million, while Man City have signed Donnarumma. And Johan Wissa says he's happy to sign for one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League. More on all that at talksport.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
2nd of September, the day after deadline day, and we're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. Matt, good morning to you. Transfer window, how do you see it? How do you view it looking back?
Morning, gentlemen. Yeah, the transfer window is short after what feels like a pretty long summer. Jim, you'll have been closer to transfer windows and deadline days than me, but this one feels pretty significant. The amount of money spent from Premier League clubs, the calibre of name coming in and out of the Premier League. You know, Isak, Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen, Donnarumma on deadline day, Newcastle getting Wissa done, Man United getting rid of Sancho and Ansi. It feels really, really significant, certainly in what I can remember. But I just want to have a look, gents. In terms of spending, which team do you think has had a good transfer window? We know Liverpool have done plenty of dough over the summer. They're wanting to win leagues and go fairly deep in Europe. You look at the likes of Spurs, disappointing last year, but spent 180 million quid this year. Sunderland, in effort to stay up, 162 million quid spent. In terms of ambition, fellas, who's done well, and conversely, who might have left themselves a little bit short-handed?
I mean, can you look no further than Liverpool, Simon, in terms of business done?
It's all relative to it's all relative to the football club you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, all of the championship teams that come up last year have spent decent amounts of money. I mean, if you look at the overall spend, €3.5 billion, which over 50% of it was made up by 6 clubs, the top 6. But they also brought in 50% of the receivables, so they offset it against what they received. Depends what you're measuring a good transfer window against. If you're looking at a club coming up from the Championship, trying to compete, stay in the Premier League, to build themselves an opportunity, then some would say Sunderland have done quite well.
Yeah.
If you look at bad transfer windows, you'd say maybe Palace haven't supplemented and they've put themselves in a situation where their managers almost had to give an ultimatum about a player, and then they've been forced into a situation where they've had to hold on to a player and they can no longer capitalise him on any level. But if you're looking at what's been signed on paper to cement their potential domination of English football, both last season and now, Liverpool have got what would on paper be a very significant group of players to fit most of the holes that Liverpool may have had, for whatever reasons, whether obviously the tragedy of Diogo Jota or it be requirements of supplementing players that are maybe coming to the end of their career, like Andy Robertson, and players they brought in to replace him.
Yeah.
And also ultimately players that haven't hit the ground running at Liverpool, like Darwin Núñez. So I would say at the high end, Liverpool, they've spent a lot of money to achieve that. If that's the measurement of a good, and the measurement of a good transfer window is how much money you've spent.
Right. I mean, how do you look at Villa's window, for example? PSR hit Villa, Sancho on loan, but Elliott on loan. But
then that's an unfair comparison, isn't it? Because if you can't do anything, you can't judge them by the window. You can only judge them by their capabilities. If you're completely and utterly stymied by an inability to be able to buy because you've got yourself in a situation with PSR, then you'd have to say that that's not really a fair comparison. But I think the ones we've just discussed for differing reasons, I'd look at West Ham and say, they had a good window?
Not really.
I mean, they got out of jail by playing a very lacklustre, dysfunctional Forest side on Sunday, which no one would have legislated for.
I think, to be honest, Matt, the most spectacular window would have to be, the winner of that category would be Liverpool, I think. I mean, to break the British transfer record not once but twice, 400 million plus spend, and the players they've got in. I mean, look no further, I would suggest.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? I think I know Newcastle have copped a little bit of stick in this window, but I think in the last sort of week or so, I think they've dragged it out the fire as well too. Obviously, Isak's left, but this Voltemada lad, we talked a lot about him in the under-21 Euros for Germany, and Vis has proven at this level. So perhaps they've got away with one on deadline day and replaced a very good striker with two pretty decent ones.
Yeah. Let's go to your part of the world. Leeds, Headingley, England, South Africa, the first one-day international.
Yeah, it is the first of three. Just looking out the window in Leeds, as always in God's country, Jim, the sun is shining. Plenty of blue sky up there. I think anyone who's going to Headingley today will be in for a really good day's cricket. England versus South Africa. England home favourites at 3-5. The visitors outsiders at 27-20. I don't think since Harry Brook took over as full-time white ball captain, he's lost a game. He's played 3 ODIs and 3 2020s against West Indies. I think they've won them all. I expect him to be firmly in the runs today, alongside fellow Yorkshireman Joe Root. While there's not much value in the outright betting, I think Joe Root and Harry Brook to score a half century or more at 23-4 is a really good bet for two lads who are banging form and know this track like the back of their hand.
Before you leave us, Matt, tell us about this BetMGM Gold Card. It's a great prize for one customer and 3 friends. Is that right?
Yeah, it's really exciting. The BetMGM Gold Card is back for its second season. This Golden Pass gives you and 3 friends hospitality access to some of the biggest events in the sporting calendar. Go and watch our Premier League partners, Tottenham Hotspur, Wolverhampton Wanderers and Newcastle United. Be in the mix for and out under lights at the BetMGM Premier League darts, and of course get involved in the action at Ascot and Cheltenham Festival. It is really one of the best season tickets in town, and a fantastic experience for one lucky winner and his or her pals. If listeners are interested, you can get involved. Head over to our socials to find out more. Obviously, T's and C's apply, 18+ and begambleaware.org.
Great. The Gold Card interests us, Simon. It's just the 3 friends is a bit of a struggle for us, isn't it? But we can do it. Matt, thank you very much indeed. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app, 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Wonder what Grimsby Town fans think of this. The club's been fined, Simon, £20,000, of which £10,000 will be suspended until the end of the season. They breached the rules of the Carabao Cup. The breach relates to Grimsby fielding an ineligible player against Manchester United. Apparently, Grimsby submitted the registration of Clark O'Doer at 1 minute past midnight on the day before the game, after the 12 midnight deadline. Now, Grimsby, of course, went through 12-11 on penalties. The player in question actually missed his penalty in the shootout. But anyway, will they be that perturbed about it? A 20 grand hit, 10 of which is suspended.
No, I shouldn't think so. I mean, I don't know what the precedent is
for...
It's
the deadline by a minute.
I know, but I mean, the deadline is a deadline. There's a deadline for a reason, isn't it? I don't know what the precedent is for ineligible players, and maybe this is the real thin edge of the wedge. There'd be uproar if there was anything further than this, but they probably had to do something. But when you've beaten Man United in a full house with TV money, I mean, okay, you have got the dizzy heights of going to Sheffield Wednesday and their protesting fan base that probably won't turn up. They can't turn up for the Leeds game. They're not going to bleed and turn up for Grimsby, are they? So you're not going to make huge amounts of money out of that. But I think it's a non-event in terms of the EFL having to do something, but doing the least they possibly could, I suspect.
Yeah. Take the hit, Grimsby, and march on in the Carabao Cup. We'll march on. It's 11:45. A lot to get through as we approach the final hour, not least in the world of boxing. Stay with us for that. Our biggest competition today is live, and we're giving you the chance to win Oasis tickets plus a whopping £25,000. Two lucky winners, not one but two, will win a pair of Oasis tickets when they return to Wembley on September the 27th. That's not all. Alongside the tickets, we're giving you the chance to win a whopping £25,000. For the details on how to enter this amazing competition, have a listen to this.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Oasis to 888 3338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 19th of September at 9 a.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Simon, what with the transfer window closing last night at 7 o'clock, seems like ages ago since the last round of Premier League matches. It was only Sunday. West Ham went to Nottingham Forest, surprised many, leaving with all 3 points, having really mugged them off in the final 10 minutes and winning the game by 3-0. And of course, question marks about Nuno at Forest. Last week, Nuno seemed to air his frustrations after suggesting his relationship with the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, had changed, become strained. They were no longer as close as they had been. Edu was appointed as Forest Global Head of Football earlier this summer, and he's taken control over the club's recruitment operation. But it seemingly was felt by many observers that maybe Nuno wasn't best advised to speak publicly about the straining of the relationship with himself and Marinakis. Marinakis, for his part, spoke to TNT Sport at the Europa League draw, and he was asked about Nuno and how he got on with him.
We have a solid relation, and of course, sometimes we can be nervous, we can say one thing, we can say another, but what counts at the end of the day is the real relation between me and Nuno, between Nuno and the players, and between the players and ourselves, and everything is solid. We all want Nottingham to succeed, and also we are here in the good days, but we are even closer in the difficult days. So personally, I don't see a problem.
Everything is solid, nothing to see here. Do you believe him?
Well, we'll see an interview soon, won't we, with him standing next to Nuno, with Nuno going how wonderful his owner is and how delighted he is that Nottingham Forest can get given a new contract. We'll see one of those, won't we, with Marinakis' hand up his backside. I think Marinakis is a certain type of owner. He's a very strong individual. Whether you like him or you dislike him is irrelevant. He is very strong in supporting what he believes, and at this moment in time what he believes is the pursuit of excellence for the football club that he owns in Nottingham Forest. He's just played down the conversation that Nuno Espirito Santo thought he was entitled to have with the media. I didn't think it was particularly wise. I'm sorry it won't serve him well in the longer game. But then again, if he doesn't win games, nothing will serve him well. You might get a little bit of dispensation, but I don't think Marinakis is cut out of the sentimental cloth. I think he calls things as he sees them, and he dispenses people services when they're of no use to him any further, which is a commercial relationship. He's not his pal. These aren't pals. Marinakis is an employer and he's his employee.
Yeah.
And sometimes that gets forgotten. And I know that everyone sits there thinking that football managers run the football clubs. They don't. They run the football team.
Yeah, but hang on. Nuno brought him European football this season.
He was given the tools to do it by his owner. He didn't do it in isolation. He didn't magic up a group of players out of nowhere. He inherited a group of players that I actually, in fact, tipped to get relegated. So you have to give credit. He was given a lot of support. Players were brought in. Yeah. Players like Elanga were brought in. Players like Callum Hudson-Odoi were brought in. Players like Chris Wood were brought in that have had peak seasons. And he's done a great job. He's done a great job. What was the alternative? Do a bad job. He did a good job, and he needs to be rewarded and recognised for that, and I'm sure he would have been. But that also means that you do have to remind yourself of where you are in the food chain. You aren't the owner of the football club. You aren't the person that writes the bills. You're an employee. And if your owner has a certain relationship with you that he wants to have from a distance at times, I don't know who football managers think they are, but they reap the well of it in the longer game because they get binned, and then all of a sudden everyone feels sorry for them and what a terrible, precarious life it is, and how dreadful it is, and how short-term it is. Well, if you're getting paid £3 or £4 million a season, in most walks of life, it can afford to be short-term.
So if there's been a fallout of some sort or a difference of opinion between Nuno and Marinakis.
Yeah. Well, the media
is Marinakis the kind of guy that says, right, let's wipe the slate clean and we can crack on?
I don't know him. So I would imagine Marinakis is the type of guy that wants to win at all costs, and people don't stand in his way, whoever they are. And if they do, they get put in their place. And it'd be fascinating to know the absolute ins and outs. There's lots of rumours about the ins and outs of what may or may not have been said to Gibbs White and the consequences of any potential desire to leave. But the fact of the matter is that the player stayed.
Yeah.
Nuno Espirito Santo has this reputation. People think he's a mild-mannered, congenial, pleasant fellow, but I understood he was quite a difficult bugger when he was at Wolves, and people get fed up with his politicking and playing out to certain galleries, and he's just done it again, and it won't serve him well. Right now, his currency's high because he has done a brilliant job, and he should be given all the plaudits of that. I just think that what happens in the slightly immature world of football is that people get carried away with themselves, and they forget that actually, I don't own this club. I just work for it. I best remember my place at times. And I'm not talking about the Bob Lord mentality of you being a serf and him being a land baron. I'm talking about the reality of he wouldn't expect his players to go, my manager didn't speak to me for a week. I haven't got the same relationship with my manager. He'd be uproared. He would be in uproar if one of his players popped up in the media saying, well, I don't have the same relationship with my manager that I once had. There'd be outrage. He would be outraged by it.
Yeah.
He'd say, that's not the way you behave yourself. So why do football managers honestly think that it's the right thing to do to challenge the ultimate authority? It's stupid. Now, whether he's achieved anything, the one thing you can say about Marinakis is he's committed to the well-being of his football club. However he achieves it, he will spend money, he will push the orthodoxy, he will challenge the system, he will fight his corner, he will not conform to what people think of the norms. So all of that tells you that you've got an owner that's committed. But it also tells you that perhaps be mindful of it. You want to have a fight with Marinakis, have it in private. Don't have it in the media. You didn't win this fight. You didn't get Marinakis to suddenly magic up some players and give you the support that you wanted because he saw you wittering on in some press conference to a bunch of gurning journalists. He was going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
All you did was shorten your career span at Nottingham Forest.
He certainly came out on top when it came to the Gibbs-White debacle. All those who want to leave Forest take one step forward, not so fast, Morgan.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out on top there.
The walk.
But at the end of the day, I mean, were you close? I think I know the answer to this before I even ask it. Were you close to any of your managers at Palace? Did you have a decent relationship privately?
With all of them. Yeah, with all of them. Absolutely with all of them. You know, at different...
What, were you pals?
Well, it's difficult to...
You weren't pals with Dowie.
No, of course not. I tolerated him.
Because lad, Ian?
No, not particularly. No, he's not, in my view. But that's because I've got first-hand experience of him. And there were lots of things I did for Ian that I would never bring up in the public domain, but I did a lot for him and he betrayed my confidence. But that's a different discussion. Most of the time, you get on with your managers. I wasn't like Jamie Redknapp hanging around with Paul Kemsley, the vice chairman of Spurs, being his dancing partner, or someone else with David Sullivan. I didn't have that relationship. I didn't want to be the friends with the players. I didn't want to be friends with the managers. I wanted to be an honest owner of a football club that did what I said I was going to do and try to get them to do their job. I've got plenty of friends. You know, I got on well. I'd like to think I've got plenty of friends that I choose to have, and my employees aren't those.
But yeah, that's what I'm driving at.
You've got to keep that line.
It was an employer-employee relationship.
Of course,
and that was it.
Yeah, you want it. I mean,
but they knew you were the boss.
You get unique moments. I mean, I most of my players and managers would say that on the whole, I was pretty fair. I did what I said I was going to do, and I asked them to do the same. But I think that Nuno. I think he's unwise. I do. I think he's unwise to do what he's done.
And he could still come unstuck.
Well, some would say you come unstuck anyway, because the moment you find yourself in a sticky position, you'll get let go.
Yeah.
But there is also an element of dispensation if you understand in certain circumstances how to behave. But then again, football's governed by a different set of rules. I used to think that the integrity was a big part of the sport. And it's an important thing to have is integrity. If you walk into the room and you're the only person with integrity, then you're going to leave with your pants around your ankles.
That's a thought. If you'd been working with Nuno and Nuno had said publicly, "Nah, the owner, Mr. Jordan, and I, we're not as close as we once were,"
I'd handle it like a Marinakis.
Would you handle it like I was just about to say
in
that.
Public? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but you were friends with some of your managers.
Well, I was friendly.
Do you consider me a friend?
Well, yes, I've reached the rock bottom in my life where I have so few friends I grasp onto the ones that I've got.
Count me in any time. Phone me at any time. I'm there for you. We are coming up to 12 noon this Tuesday lunchtime.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 1 minute past 12, I'm Nick Allaby. Good afternoon. Roy Hodgson is feeling really sorry for Mark Guehi. His move to Liverpool fell through. Hodgson told talkSPORT Palace should be the winners here.
To have a player of that calibre and a captain and leader of that calibre still with you should be seen as advantageous, but it remains to be seen, of course, how upset he may have been by what's happened.
But former Palace chairman Simon Jordan tells us Liverpool could well be back in for the centre-back in January, and Guehi's stock is only going to rise.
But the fact he's going to be free next year, I mean, he's going to be able to feed this generation, the generation after that, the generation after that, and the opportunity is going to arrive in his salary as a result of there being no transfer fee.
Meanwhile, Alexander Isak's told Liverpool fans Anfield is the perfect place to take his game to the next level. Danny Murphy told us Isak will sit on the bench for a while.
When he gets fit, he's going to start. And then the question is, does Ekitike sometimes play as a 10? If Verts does the rest, does he play on the left? Gakpo's not going to be able to play every game.
Elsewhere today, Gianluigi Donnarumma's joined Man City for £26 million on a 5-year contract, and Fulham have signed Bayern Munich forward Jonah Kusiasare on loan. All the latest at talksport.com. Now, Grimsby have been fined £20,000 for fielding an ineligible player in their Carabao Cup win over Man United. Here's Jim White.
Apparently, Grimsby submitted the registration of Clark Odur at 1 minute past midnight on the day before the game, after the 12 midnight deadline.
Grimsby self-reported. Half the fine has been suspended till the end of the season. And St Mirren are deeply saddened to hear former captain and manager Jimmy Bone has died aged 75. He was St Mirren assistant when they won the Scottish Cup in 1987. Bone also played up front for Partick Thistle, Norwich City, Sheffield United and Celtic.
talkSPORT News.
The Home Office warns foreign students leave when your visa expires or face deportation. And the pound's on course for its biggest single-day fall in months. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With our wide range of services on offer, including tyres, MOTs, servicing and brakes, you can drive away happy every time.
Rain moving east across southern counties of England and Wales. Elsewhere, a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers. Lighter winds, temperatures around average.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. Thanks for all the texts and the tweets and the messages. Keep them coming in as we shall move on and talk boxing for the foreseeable future in this hour. Sad bit of news, of course, and I remember this man. I've met him on a number of occasions. Former St Mirren and Partick Thistle player, striker Jimmy Bone went into management as well. So sad to hear the news this lunchtime that Jimmy has died at the age of 75. A great guy and a great individual. Big contributor to the Scottish game up there. Sad news about Jimmy Bone. We move on. This Friday, Ireland's Mick Conlan faces Jack Bateson for the vacant WBC International Featherweight title. It's in Dublin. It's live on talkSPORT Ireland. Andy Clark's on commentary duty alongside former two-weight world champion Steve Collins. This should be good. Conlan against Bateson this Friday, live on the talkSPORT Ireland YouTube channel, or you can watch on Channel 5. I am delighted to say joining us in studio is the man who is promoting the whole thing, that and a whole lot more. Calla Sauerland joins us live in studio. It's been a while. Good afternoon.
It's been a while in person. It's good to see you both looking very well after your summer holidays. Everyone fresh. Looking forward to a big one in Dublin this week.
Well, this is going to be a cracker, is it not? I mean, Simon, I'll get your take on this in a second. I think of Mick Conlan and I think of that epic with Lee Wood. I mean, they'll be crammed in to see this one up against Jack Bateson this coming Friday. What have we got in store for it? What can we expect?
Well, I think first of all, we've got to look at the event. I mean, it's sort of bizarre that it is the first time that he's headlining in Dublin. You know, Dublin's child, Mick Conlan, returning home for what is a massive night for Irish boxing. You know, England versus Ireland always gets the juices flowing, but it's the hottest ticket in town. Expecting a massive atmosphere. It is Friday night, so the press conferences are ready tomorrow. Flying over there tomorrow for what I expect to be a fantastic fight week. Live on Channel 5 in the UK, of course, Friday night. Charlie Edwards also returning. 12 fights on the card. And yeah, I mean, I can't give it more than that. I mean, it ticks every box, really.
It does, Calla, because Simon, Mick's looking to get back into World Championship contention after he came up short in his 2 previous title shots against Luis Alberto Lopez and Lee Wood. And the fight against Lee Wood was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was probably a little bit of a defining fight for Mick for a period of time, wasn't it? You know, he keeps on coming up to that level and having a little look at it, doesn't he? You know, with Lee Wood, which was an unfortunate set of circumstances for him because he was ahead in the fight, wasn't he? And then you look at the other fights that he's had with Lopez and Jordan Gill. He's had a look at that level, and he needs to get to that level. You know, Irish boxing's having a decent time right now. You've got McKenna just beating Liam Smith, so that's another Irish fighter that's in the ascendancy. But it's interesting, you know, what Calla does, because you've got a non-traditional broadcaster in Channel 5 and a non-traditional event on Friday evenings. And I think this is good. It's innovation, and innovation is what every sport requires. So it's a good thing that you do something different to what other people do and do it in a different way, because it creates more eyeballs on the prize, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you look at, you know, the fighters that have come through on Channel 5, you know, you obviously look at Tyson Fury, Eubank Jr.
Harlem Eubank.
Now Harlem Eubank, Josh Kelly, who's now up for a world title this year as well. And Harlem will be back in November as well. Who sort of arrived on the big stage now in terms of talking names. They've still got to win those goals. And for Mick, you look at Mick Conlan, and if you close your eyes, you just expect him to have won a world title by now.
Yeah.
So it is that defining chapter of a career. And I agree with Simon. He was so close in the Lee Wood fight. That's a fight I'd love to rerun back, by the way.
Mick Conlan, though, why hasn't he won a world title thus far?
Jimmy, it's moments. It's boxing. And at that level, you know, you've got to carry it out until the end of the fight. And it simply didn't happen that night. With Lee Wood, it wasn't the time, you know, in a fight that everyone will remember in British boxing for many years to come.
Yeah.
I'd love to do the Josh Warrington fight, also a very big fight. But of course, you know, then you go into the old discussion, and, you know, Simon and me have had a few discussions over that at my Eubank Junior times. Is it the gold you chase, or is it the big British fight you chase? I think with Mick, I think he's very different than Eubank Junior. I think he'll be looking for that gold because, you know, he was robbed at the Olympics. We all remember that very famous moment and salute. And, you know, it is a special night on Friday night.
Oh, it sure is.
For Irish boxing in general.
Simon, do you see Conlan getting to his goal and getting that world title?
Depends who gets the fight, doesn't it? I mean, he's had 3 tilts at elite fights, hasn't he, in terms of coming up to the Lee Wood fight unbeaten, loses that fight in that manner. You know, it's been a mixed bag if you look at his record since then, but look at who he's fought. He's fought top-level fighters, and each time he's gone against a top-level fighter, he's just come up a tad short. The unluckiest of them all was the Lee Wood fight, and we know what that did for Lee Wood's career. Yeah. So it depends what opportunity he gets against who he gets it.
I go along with that. I've made much, I'm not going to say any names, but I've made much worse fighters world champions than Mick Conlan, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
It is who and when.
Looking forward to it. Conlan Bateson, Friday live on talkSPORT Ireland YouTube channel, or watch on Channel 5. Talking about Channel 5, free-to-air boxing, does it work? I mean, you've got this one on Channel 5. Ben Shalom's gone in that direction with Boxer, with the BBC.
Look, I did it 15, 20 years ago in Germany. We had 23 million viewers in front of the televisions. Yeah, we did it with the Klitschko's. We did it with a lot of great German fighters. You know, Arthur Abraham, and we brought a lot of. I used to work a lot with Eddie, bringing the English guys over for you know, Martin Murray was over, Paul Smith twice, yeah. Rocky Fielding came over, did a backdoor job on Tyron Zoiga for the WBA World Championship over there. So that's been going on for years. But the question is, in the UK, I grew up, and I know that, you know, pay-per-views changed everything, but my background really growing up was on the couch with my old man on a Saturday night watching ITV. was the Eubank day, the Ben, those fights.
Reg Guthridge
and they've stayed with me forever. Then they still, even now when I see Senior, I am so starstruck because that was one of my childhood idols. It was free for all. Now, there's certain events now, like the Usyk Dubois card recently really did well on pay-per-view. I don't know if they made the figures public, but that did fantastically on pay-per-view. I wouldn't have quite backed that horse as well as it did. Did very well on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view works for certain fights. The problem is that it's getting more and more used to finance fights. And, the free-to-air element is to get it into a space where you get a demographic that is not just, a hardcore boxing or even a football crowd that might watch a bit of boxing. You're getting into a totally different household. And we've seen that with Harlem Eubank. We've seen that with Josh Kelly. Who've multiple times got, more than 2 million views on a fight night. Friday night.
What do you make of Turkey Al Sheikh's direction that pay-per-view is not the answer? Phase that out.
Yeah, listen, it's always an easy statement to make. He's in a position to do that. As a business, as a boxing promoter, you need someone to either pay for the fights via a sponsor, a country, a different funding system. And I saw that with the World Boxing Super Series as well, which was funded out of Switzerland. And but long term, a promoter it's a limited company. It's a private company. So how are you going to pay the fighters the levels they want without pay-per-view? Yes, it can work off as I said before, we did it with the Klitschko's in Germany. It can work off a free-to-air model, but the license fees have to be substantially more. And then you go into the sponsorship market. Yes, it's possible, but at the same time, pay-per-view does work.
Do you think? But having done what he's done with Ben going that direction with the BBC free to air, do you think he's going to be somewhat more vulnerable now if it doesn't work?
I feel like give the kid a chance on BBC and see what he makes of it. It's listen, I can tell you something. The Channel 5 shows don't make money. We do it to invest in fighters, invest in the sport, and we hope to have a return down the road. We see that now. Again, I'm going to use Josh Kelly again. He's fighting for a world title now. Harlem's gone on. He had his chance against Catra. Was an unfortunate evening, but he's now arrived, hopefully, for a big fight next year. So the model does work. You won't get immediate rewards. You're not going to become a millionaire doing free-to-air boxing at this level.
Yeah.
The question is, do the BBC then back it and write significant license fees and not smaller license fees? Well, that is, that's something that you've got to invest in and hope that down the road they do.
Calla, we want to talk briefly about Misfits 22, which took place at the weekend.
Better take a sip of water then.
In Manchester. Have your sip of water because we'll go for a quick break. It's my hope that you can stay with us a few minutes the other side of the break. And we can do that.
Anything for Misfits.
Yes, indeed. We'll do that because Darren Till knocked out ex-UFC middleweight title holder Luke Rockhold. And now, would you believe it, Till is calling out Carl Froch. Yes. He really is. Before that, though, one final plug for this one on Friday because it is a biggie. Ireland's Mick Conlan faces Jack Bateson, the vacant WBC International Featherweight title in Dublin. Conlan in Dublin, are you kidding? That's going to get an audience, is it not? They'll be packed in for that. And it's live on talkSPORT Ireland. Conlan Bateson Friday, live on talkSPORT Ireland YouTube channel or watch on Channel 5. More from Cal in a second. Top boxing promoter Calla Sowland in studio with Simon and myself this lunchtime. We're live on talkSPORT. And Calla was behind Misfits 22 at the weekend in Manchester. He was promoting that. He's a busy man, and this was taking up much of his time. But it was a big success, this one. In the main event, Darren Till knocked out ex-UFC middleweight title holder Luke Rockhold inside 3 rounds. And then what did Darren do? He called out Carl Froch, who was sitting ringside. And then after that, Froch went on to suggest, yeah, I might have a bit of that. This was Froch speaking on his own YouTube channel.
Listen, I retired 11 years ago. And when I retired, when I was almost 37, I was like a month away from my 37th birthday. I just rendered George Groves unconscious in front of 80,000 at Wembley Stadium. I don't mention it much, just in case you didn't know. But I was offered a lot of money. I was offered a lot of money to fight Chavez Jr. I was offered money to fight Gennady Golovkin. The desire was gone. And when the desire's gone, you're not going to jump in a boxing ring because it's the pain game. It's the hurt game. You can get seriously injured. So I was like, listen, I've done what I need to do in the game. So I retired 11 years ago. And I'm emphasising the 11 years again because why would I fight now? Why would I bother? Well, easy money. The old Bunsen burner. I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute. They're giving money away here with these fights because Darren Till's absolutely useless. I'm not being funny. Listen, I'm talking about professional boxing level. At the level he's at, he's done all right. He's got decent balance, throws a decent backhand from a southpaw stance. But let's be honest, this will be a mismatch.
Wow. All right. Well, let's find out more on this. Darren Till versus Carl Froch. Calla, you going to make this happen?
I mean, I was just watching that again. It does remind me of the sort of opening statement at a press conference. So that wouldn't go astray, would it? I'd love to make it happen.
Is he Froch is serious, right?
Yeah, look, I've known Carl many, many years, and we've had, many, many fights together. We've been talking about it before. The 2 Kessler fights, Arthur Abraham, George Groves too. And, he's always been a nemesis to me. I remember him getting in the ring with him after the Groves knockout, and we sort of settled it. He come over to me, he goes, look, Calla, we're all right now, and, everything good. I'm thinking, I've got to peel my man off the canvas here, yeah? I think he means business, but I will only know really when I take that journey up to Nottingham, hopefully early next week, and find out, is this like Darren saying, is it numbers for his YouTube channel, which is great, actually. It's a great channel, but I don't know. He turned up Saturday night. He's never been to. He rarely goes to boxing fights and any sort of fights, and he really enjoyed himself at Misfits, actually. And he, I think there's something there. I think there's something that's itching him. I think he does think it's an easy night's work, and it's a question of, where is he 11 years on, and only Carl will really know that. I mean, I don't think Carl was never scared of any man in his boxing days in his main career, so I don't think that he's going to be worried about Darren Till. At the same time, I think Darren Till made a real statement.
And nothing shocks us
level
anymore
on Saturday night.
I mean, this is doable, isn't it, Simon? If it was to happen, Darren Till, Carl Froch, you'd be one of the many who'd want to watch it, wouldn't you? Yes, you would.
Not really, no. But I appreciate why people would want to watch it. It's not about what I want to watch; it's what other people want to watch in the audience and how the figures work. I mean, Carl will do it if the money's right. Carl's motivation, as he said himself, if he gets paid enough money, then he'll do it. How interesting it will be, how engaging it will be. Carl Froch was a fabulous fighter for lots of different reasons, and in every fight that Carl Froch was in, whoever it was against, whether it was Jermaine Taylor or whether it was George Groves, you got value for money. And the one thing that Carl Froch can do is take a shot. Darren Till's an interesting character. I love the way he shut down Tommy Fury and shut down John Fury and called them out because they John Fury runs around bullying everybody. 2'2" Ukrainians he bullies, but he couldn't bully Darren Till. So I liked all that. So it's got some backstory to it. Yeah. And Carl gets agitated and irritated with what he considers to be a generation of people profiting through boxing that don't have the skill set. So I'm sure if Calla puts enough money on the table, you might get a buy it.
I mean, the weekend was a roaring success, wasn't it? Manchester. And Misfits 22, Calla, 3 years on from the inaugural event, has it found its accepted space in the boxing calendar?
Well, I think something that's gone astray on people is that actually Saturday night you had that traditional Misfits element to it. You had, I think, 3 pro fights on there. There was a WBA number 14 fighting Ty Mitchell on there in a traditional pro fight, so normal pro boxing. Then there was the first ever MMA fight with Dylan Dennis, 15 seconds of it. And then you had sort of, you know, the Darren Tills. I don't know really where to put him, because it's certainly not normal misfits, and it's a bit different to that. We had everything. Like Joey Essex in a Hagler Hearns of the misfit scene. Go back and if you look at the views on the YouTube channels of what these fights have done, and also after the event, you know, it's madness. And Misfits has come a long way. The brand, you know, you walk down a high street anywhere in the country, you ask an under 18-year-old what's Misfits, everyone knows. You go to America, they do the same, which is rare in combat.
Is there more money for you promoting Misfits boxing than promoting traditional fights?
It's different. Can't answer that. Oh, you put me on the spot there, Jim. But let's put it this way: the brand Misfits is vastly superior than to anything I've ever seen in boxing, because it simply takes on a youth space. We're about to launch in the next couple of weeks into a totally different sport. Can't reveal today, but it's a very interesting sport that Misfits will go into, and you'll see that more and more, because it's almost like a white label that you can transfer to.
Give it teasers.
A sport that you know, it's a English or British. It's got British roots. That's all I can give you today. But it's going to be interesting, and you guys will definitely be interested.
We'll think about that. But look at where Misfits has got to. I mean, Jake Paul has done so much, almost legitimising it, and now he's lining up to fight current world champion, bona fide current world champion, Gervonta Tank Davis.
Yeah,
this is where it's got to.
But that's a bit different to what we're doing. So what Jake Paul's done is, you know, and credit to him. You know, he's making a lot of money. But he's also, you know, the whole AJ thing, I think, was a very, very elaborate and clever play to legitimise him in our minds. So if you think about it now, we're talking, oh, well, he was going to fight AJ, so he must be this good. He was actually going to fight him. I think he played Eddie Hearn to a T. I think they played everyone to a T. And I think he was never going to do that fight. And it was always going to be Gervonta Davis. Now he's fighting Gervonta Davis now. I remember my days of fighting, and I was absolutely terrible. But I do remember one thing. I remember sparring my first pro, and he was 12 and 19 or something, absolutely useless. I couldn't touch him. Now, I know that, you know, he's been living the life of a boxer, and again, credit to Jake Paul for doing that. But Gervonta Davis is elitist of the elite world level. If he wants to, he will not put a glove on him all night long. The question is, it's always this, and it becomes a little bit dark and sinister because it's described as an exhibition fight. Mm-hmm. By the nature of that, what are the rules? Can we have them all? You know, there's rumours you're not allowed to throw uppercuts, you're not allowed to do this. What are the actual rules? So when people say to me, "Oh, has he got a chance against Gervonta Davis?" Well, he's got his hands taped up behind his back. He clearly does. If you ask me, stone cold light of day, can he lay a finger on or a glove on Gervonta Davis? Absolutely not. Just not going to happen. The guy, if you've been in a ring yourself, you will know that you won't be able to touch him all night.
Yeah,
he'll run circles around you, and he won't get into a fight.
So what's happening on the night?
Well, again, what does exhibition mean? And I'm sure they'll come out of it. And again, it's big business. It's Netflix around the world. It's great money, and they've done fantastic negotiations. But you see, you know, you look at other fights that he's done, like, he fought Mike Perry. That didn't do well at all commercially. Didn't sell any pay-per-views. So it's always they recognise that they need to go for absolute blockbusters and roll it into something that's believable.
And Calla, in the little time we've got left,
Anthony Joshua is not believable. It's simply not believable.
Is Moses Toma in traditional boxing the next big thing? Huge.
I think also the event in Saudi recently, what people missed, they say, we didn't really show anything to be Dillian White. I've had enough world champions over many years to realise that you invest a lot of money in a fighter, but come the time they headline a main event like he did that week, a lot of them, great in the gym, great in sparring, great on undercards. They get to a main event and they absolutely get stage fright. And he went through that week, which was a big event, headlined for the first time and done a job on him. And that, for me, ticks a very, very big box.
Okay.
Yeah, young guy. I love the way he fights, but love to see him next against Hrgovic, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a good shout.
And very briefly, Eubank Jr. Ben 2. Who wins it this time?
I can't get out of here without asking me a question on that fight, can I? Who wins it this time? I think it's much. If that weight clause is the same, and I saw Conor was sitting next to me on Saturday night, and I asked him about the weights, and he thinks it's the same. And if it is the same, then I think it's going to be a tough job for Eubank this time.
Okay. You'll go to that one, won't you? We'll go to that one. Eubank Jr. Ben 2. Callum Sauerland, thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And good luck with that fight, Conlan's fight on Friday. I think that could be
Friday night, live on Channel 5, and of course talkSPORT in Ireland as well.
talkSPORT in Ireland. I think that'll be a barn burner. Well done. Callum Sauerland with us live this lunchtime as we're live on talkSPORT at 12:30.
So Liverpool have got exactly what they wanted in the end. Alexander Isak joined on deadline day from Newcastle for a British record £125 million. And talkSPORT's Danny Murphy has called him the complete centre-forward.
If you were to choose a centre-forward looking around Europe, he'd be at the top of most people's list. So I think Liverpool fans will be ecstatic, excited. The only disappointment is the saga around it.
But the Reds didn't quite hit their mark elsewhere. Guehi's move from Palace fell through. We understand Oliver Glasner threatened to walk out if the defender was sold. Our transfer correspondent Ben Jacobs told us Brighton's Igor choosing West Ham was the deciding factor.
And as a result, they came back to that original agreement at the beginning of the day. If two come in, Guehi can leave. Glasner didn't like it, but he accepted it. So only one came in, and then they had to have meetings again. And I think that Steve Parish probably changed his opinion and backed his manager.
So how big of a miss could that be for the title defenders? Well, ex-Liverpool forward and fan of the club Ricky Lambert told talkSPORT Liverpool do need Guehi.
Our best run ever. Joe Gomez was at the centre of our defence for all that beginning of that season. So there's a player there as well. Yeah. But the cover-wise, we probably did need another centre-back.
Elsewhere, Edison is off to Fenerbahce for 12 million, while Man City have signed Donnarumma. And Johan Wissa says he's happy to sign for one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League. More on all that at talksport.com.
It is the day after the night before, and of course the night before was a 7 o'clock deadline, which has seen some deals still go through late on this morning. Donnarumma is in at Manchester City. They have themselves a new goalkeeper. Manchester United didn't get Emi Martinez, but they got young Lamens, a 23-year-old goalkeeper from Royal Antwerp, and we'll see what he does in the fullness of time. Here's a question for you, Simon. At 12:30 or so this Tuesday lunchtime, in 2025, should football fans be free to wear whatever they like in a football stadium? The reason I ask is this. At the beginning of the season, it's understood that the Premier League issued a reminder to clubs that material considered to be politically motivated, including symbolism of countries in conflict, should not be permitted in stadiums. Now, for example, a Brighton fan was recently banned from attending the club's next 5 home Premier League games after he was adjudged to have failed to comply with the requests of the club's matchday stewards. He turned up wearing a Palestinian-branded football shirt during Brighton's opening match of the season at home to Fulham. And Brighton, in a statement, said the Premier League is clear on guidance to all its clubs that flags, banners and other materials, including replica shirts, T-shirts, that display potential inflammatory content, which could include flags of countries in conflict or content considered discriminatory, offensive or politically motivated, should not be permitted. And then we had elsewhere, before the season began, an Everton fan alleged that he was not allowed entry to a pre-season friendly match against Roma due to the fact that a Palestinian-branded shirt was being worn. Everton's guidance to fans urges them to avoid wearing attire which is, quotes, politically motivated or nationalistic in messaging. So on both occasions, Brighton and Everton implemented the Premier League guidance that they were asked to implement. What's your take on it, Simon? I mean, should fans be free to wear whatever they want when they go to a match in any football stadium around the country?
I'd like to say yes, but in reality, probably no. I mean, you can't... I mean, first of all, you go into a football stadium at the discretion of the football club in of itself, because it's private property, and you, whilst you would be made by a ticket, they still have the right to refuse admission.
Yeah.
If the guidelines from the Premier League, for whatever you think of them, are that you cannot wear certain things inside a football stadium, then that's the end of the discussion, whether you like it or you don't. So I guess the answer is no. I mean, it's not... I mean, people have very strong views on at the moment in time, and I understand it. You know, some of the subject matter that people have views on in society is very, very divisive, and people have very divided views. And circumstances change, and people's leaning towards one. That's why I'm always very much against the idea that sport embraces political thinking, because people's view and political persuasions change. and outcomes change, and all of a sudden, if you've aligned yourself to something that turns out in the longer game to be something more controversial than you originally intended, then it's a changing landscape that I think sport should probably try to avoid. That doesn't mean that the humanitarian outlook that can be exhibited by individuals is something that's valueless. It just means that sport's probably better off without getting itself involved in subject matter that it doesn't embrace fully, really understand and do any research on. And we've seen it happen. You know, I trot this out regularly, whether it be the BLM movement and finding out that actually there was a far different set of circumstances behind the organisation rather than the statements. And of course the broadcasters and the football clubs soon backed away from that pretty quickly when they worked out it was a little bit more sinister in terms of its political leanings and persuasions. But the idea that people can do what they want in society, people will hide behind freedom of speech or freedom of expression. Are we in a free country or are we not? Yeah, you are in a free country to a point. You can't just do as you want. You can't just run into a burning building and shout fire under the auspice of freedom of speech. So I think there is a balance between why would you, with due respect, need to wear a Palestinian flag on a shirt going into an English football match? Why would you want to do that? I know that you want to show your support to the challenges in that part of the world. And people would say you could show your support. Why didn't you want to wear shirts showing your support post-October the 7th? And this argument is a very sensitive one. And people that aren't well versed in it are best not expressing too strong an opinion on it.
Of course.
But inside football stadiums, I don't think that there's a necessity for it. People love to see sport being utilised. They believe that sport is a power for good.
Yeah.
That it should be used to leverage for whichever valuable cause you think is valuable at the time. My view is that causes, circumstances, politics, they change very quickly with new information and new circumstances, and political leanings change, and the world changes very quickly. So aligning yourself to something, to me, within inside the confines of sport, is ill-advised. And it's proven to be.
But I would say to you, though, is it not a bit muddled? I mean, you might remember UEFA took it upon themselves to lay a banner on the pitch before the Club World Cup final between the Super Cup final between Spurs and PSG.
Yeah.
And the banner stated, "Stop killing children, stop killing civilians."
Yeah.
And then 2 refugee children from Gaza were also involved in the medal ceremony.
Yeah.
And this was UEFA who are leading the way on this one.
Yeah. I mean,
so the message itself, Simon, is somewhat muddled.
Well, it's like. I mean, I just said to you that the statement that Black Lives Matter is not controversial. The movement is. So stating that you want to stop killing children, whichever worldview, whether it's in Yemen or whether it's in Gaza, is not a controversial statement. But denoting it with flags and political leanings is probably something that creates the division and controversy and reaction to it. And sport doesn't do it very well, I don't think. So whilst that looks like hypocrisy, and we've had this discussion, haven't we? We've talked about don't do as I do, do as I say. You may well align yourself upon the prescribed thinking that we agree with. We saw this in the Rangers crowd saying keep woke ideology out of the UK.
Yeah.
And it was turned into something that ultimately was considered to be racist by UEFA. Whereas if UEFA had a view on something, they'd be able to promote it. And yet the great unwashed cannot. So it's one of those balancing acts you walk through and say, I always maintain the central view, why does sport need to be involved in it? Why does a football club's position, we saw it the other day with a particular football club, I forget which one it was, saying our position on this particular circumstance in world politics is this. Well, who asked you?
I mean, I think it boils down to what's acceptable and what's not. Under what?
Killing children in no part of the world, wherever the circumstances, is considered to be acceptable.
But under what, you know, with this Premier League guidance in mind here. I mean, if someone was to walk into a Premier League match wearing a Reform FC shirt, as we saw recently, to promote Farage's Reform Party, would that individual get chucked out?
Well, by these guidelines, probably yes. Whether it would be enforced or not is a different matter. But by the guidelines that we seem to be reading here, then, yeah, it probably would. Would it
Some would say this is nanny state stuff.
Does it create the division in the same way that potentially the sensitivity around this particular issue? You know, we've got a very challenging landscape for Jews in this country, with a lot of anti-Semitism based upon what's happening in that part of the world. And the other side of the equation will say that that it's not anti-Semitism, it's people trying to protect their land, and the challenges of what the Israelis are doing to them is beyond the pale. And there's two different arguments here, and each one of them can be made in a very compelling fashion. And the media has a very strong role to play in its responsible reporting of things. But I don't think through the prism of sport do things get played out particularly well. I know that those that will make the case to utilise sport are those predominantly that have a particular message that they want to impart, or a particular leaning. Yeah.
So football is right in your view, or the Premier League is right in this instance, to back neutrality?
Well, I mean, the big thing in football is to be consistent. And we see the argument being raging in terms of football management or VAR. And so they have to deploy this in a consistent manner and not for subject matter that's sensitive. You know, we saw the FA not wanting to light up Wembley over a particular set of circumstances because there was jeopardy in this.
Yes.
When they were lighting up for Ukraine, everybody was for that because it was the awful Russian oppression. When they wanted to light up the stadium, what happened after October the 7th, I think it was, there was a backlash because there was a feeling that there was a different agenda, different set of circumstances, and of course football ducked away from it. Even Southgate at the time went, maybe we shouldn't be saying these things. Well, great. Yeah. We should have had that a long time ago in sport.
Of course.
But the idea, but then the other side of it, Jim, is we think that geopolitics and sport aren't a marriage made in hell now, and a marriage that's firmly in place, then we're naive, because we see it. We're seeing nation states buying and investing in sport for geopolitical outcomes. And so whether we like it or not, it exists. It's about what the reaction to it is.
Okay. Tuesday lunchtime. More from us after this final break as we head towards 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime. a reminder, our biggest competition today is live. We're giving you the chance to win Oasis tickets plus a whopping 25 grand. 2 lucky winners, not 1 but 2, will win a pair of Oasis tickets when they return to Wembley on September the 27th. That's not all. Alongside the tickets, you've got the chance to win a whopping £25,000. For all the detail on how to enter, then you better listen up.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Oasis to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 338. All entries must be received by the 19th of September at 9 a.m. This is a TalkSPORT limited promotion run on TalkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
You know, it's not been a particularly good week, has it, for former Manchester United managers? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over in Turkey has lost his job at Besiktas, and still in Turkey, Jose Mourinho is out of Fenerbahce. And then only yesterday, after a couple of games in charge, 2 games in charge, Erik ten Hag was sacked by the Beaks at Bayer Leverkusen. He pushed back on that in a statement, not happy. He said, a new coach deserves the space to implement his vision, set the standards, shape the squad, and leave his mark on the style of play. I started this job with full conviction and energy, but unfortunately, the management was not willing to grant me the time and the trust that I needed, which I deeply regret. I think Eric's got a point. 2 games in charge, then you get the boot. I mean, Simon, before we go today, what's your take on that? I mean, apart from Ole and Mourinho, on Ten Hag.
It's not results, is it?
I mean, has Ten Hag come out with his reputation enhanced, unharmed?
No.
Not enhanced, but
well,
unharmed.
No, he hasn't, has he? Because, you know, he was taken on to a relatively significant job in a team that had produced such a wonderful performance a couple of seasons earlier under Alonso, and a team that's, you know, regarded very highly, and he's lasted 2 games. Now, that's not based upon football results. That's based upon an ideological difference of opinion. And so I don't think anybody comes out with that, with a particular win. The club will go on because the club is a mainstay, so they'll survive it. Whether it enhances... Ten Hag's reputation probably been slightly enhanced by the failings of Ruben Amorim in the last 12 months.
Yeah, he actually says at the end of his statement, clubs that place their trust in me have been rewarded with success.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have they, Eric?
Well, yeah, they have, obviously, because he was sought after by Manchester United and he delivered outcomes. Maybe
well,
not
he won an FA Cup. Yeah, right at the end, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he won a little bit more than that at United, didn't he? But the fact is that it wasn't a particularly auspicious period. But none of them are having an auspicious period at Man United. Not any of them. But I think that, like everything in football, people have very short memories. There'll be another job for Erik ten Hag. There'll be another opportunity. And he'll be able to explain away or curate an outcome that doesn't draw people to the fact that he only lasted 2 games. Because people will look at it and go, that's a fallout.
Yeah.
That's not a football decision. It's a fallout. Yeah. And it may well be a football decision based upon the fact that they didn't like his attitude or didn't like his philosophies or didn't agree with his principles or whatever they didn't agree with, or there wasn't enough money made available for him in the transfer market. None of it will be helpful for him, but it won't be existential crisis for him.
No, sure.
Manage somewhere else.
Will there be another job for Jose Mourinho? There's a question for you. Mourinho, of course, was a frequent critic of the standard of officiating in Turkey. He was handed a 4-match ban, later reduced to 2 matches, for his comments about referees after the match against Galatasaray. I mean, he ripped into Turkish officials just earlier this year. Have a listen.
But it's hard to play against the system. Is hard. Today the system had one name, Attila. We were in good control. We were winning 1-0 when Attila woke up because in the first half he was having probably Turkish tea, for not to say an alcoholic drink, so probably it was Turkish tea, when there was a clear red card on Brighton. A red card that if it is a Fenerbahce player, Attila would wake up. Even the referee on the pitch wouldn't be afraid to give the card, because referees are afraid to give decisions to us.
Wow.
Well, that was an argument about Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had a tune.
The fella in VAR.
Yeah, and we had a tune Ilikali talking about the challenges, the Hull City owner.
Is there another job here for Mourinho?
I'm a big admirer of Jose Mourinho's. I don't admire this trait of football managers going after referees all the time, but I wonder what I would do if I was in their shoes and in their space. The referees make mistakes, they make mistakes, the situation happens. The idea that VAR has been badged up as the panacea to get 100% right is just bloody stupid. And it's somehow it's convinced the public of this and the pundits that everything the VAR does is going to be getting it right because it was going to get 100% right. It's just bloody stupid. But Mourinho, goes to your question, it depends on kind of job. He's working. His record at Fenerbahce was similar to everybody else's at Fenerbahce. He gets the team to finish second.
Yeah.
He's got a decent win rate at Fenerbahce, probably his highest win rate if you look at the statistics of the last 4 or 5 jobs that he's got. Has Mourinho still got a job in him? Yeah, of course he has. Is it more likely to be an international job? Possibly. I don't know whether the Portuguese job is going to come up anytime soon with Martinez in there and what's happening in that nation. I mean, I think Mourinho can still do a job. Can he do an elite job? Well, he's not getting offered elite jobs anymore so much. I mean, Fenerbahce is an elite job in Turkish football. It's not an elite job in European football or in football in the world. It's a significant job in Turkish football, and Turkish football isn't particularly significant, with due respect to 2 very significant sides in Fenerbahce and Galatasaray.
Sure.
But you can see you don't see a top English club giving him a job. You don't see Mourinho's ego allowing him to take a lesser job. I don't know what the relegation specialist Mourinho would do if he was asked to be put into a team that needed to stay in the division and had to do a job like Fireman Sam used to do all those years ago. But I don't think Mourinho's finished in football. Where it takes him next is what he feels is of interest to him. Economically, he doesn't need to do anything. Is he a good football manager? Undoubtedly. Is he a
liability?
Well, it depends what you think a liability entails. Is he completely wrong in some of the things he does? At times, he oversteps the line, and we know it. We've seen it. We've seen it in significant games. We saw it in the Euro Conference League a couple of years ago, and no particularly offends you. I still like Mourinho. I still think he's got a lot to offer the game. Where it applies its opportunity, I don't know, because if you're ending up working your way down, I mean, the Roma job wasn't a great job. I mean, Roma's a big side, but they don't win that much, do they?
And then you go to Fenerbahce, which, as you say, is always the number 2 club.
Where are you going to go next?
In
Scotland?
Turkey. Fenerbahce, who got themselves a new goalkeeper this
Could
morning.
be worse. You probably end up at Rangers.
Oh, well, in the shape of former Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson. He is in at Fenerbahce. Manchester City, for their part, got Donnarumma. Simon, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow at 10. The big story, of course. Alexander Isak got his move. 125 million quid from Newcastle to Liverpool. We'll see how he does when he comes back from international duty with Sweden. We're back tomorrow at 10. In the meantime, we're coming up to 1.